Every day gives you a choice. You can let your mind drift, react, and repeat old habits, or you can train it to stay clear, steady, and strong. The difference between those two paths changes everything. It affects your work, your decisions, your confidence, and the way you handle pressure when life gets hard. In this audiobook, you will learn how to build a mind that wins every time through simple daily habits that actually work. You will learn how to think with more clarity, stay disciplined when motivation is low, face pressure without losing control, and keep moving forward even when progress feels slow. Each chapter gives practical steps you can use right away in your real life. This is not about fake confidence or empty encouragement. It is about becoming harder to distract, harder to defeat, and more consistent in the way you live. If you have ever wanted to improve your mindset, build self-respect, and create real change that lasts, stay with this journey. What you hear next can help you think better, act better, and grow into someone stronger every single day. Chapter 14: Developmental Clarity Through Daily Focused Thinking Practice. A winning mind does not begin with loud confidence. It begins with quiet control. It begins the moment a person decides that their thoughts will no longer be allowed to run in circles all day. Most people live with a mind that is always open and always crowded. One thought follows another without direction. Old worries return. Small problems grow large. Other people's opinions take up too much space. The day starts without intention and ends without real progress. A mind like that becomes tired before the work is even done. It feels busy but produces little. It reacts quickly but sees clearly only rarely. It wants peace but keeps feeding confusion. Mental clarity is the skill that changes this. It is the ability to think with order. It is the ability to separate what matters from what does not. It is the ability to look at life without panic and without noise. It is not a gift that only a few people possess. It is a practice. It is a choice made again and again in small, ordinary moments. The mind becomes clearer when it is trained to focus on one thing at a time. That sounds simple because it is simple. Yet simple things are often the hardest to keep doing. A clear mind does not arrive by accident. It is built through repetition. It is built when you decide to sit still with your own thoughts instead of escaping them. It is built when you stop reaching for constant distraction every time discomfort appears. It is built when you learn that not every thought deserves attention. Some thoughts are useful. Some are false. Some are just old habits speaking in familiar language. A winning mind learns to observe these thoughts without surrendering to them. There is great strength in that kind of quiet discipline. When your mind is clear, you do not waste energy on every passing emotion. You see the difference between a real problem and a temporary feeling. You understand that fear is not always a warning and doubt is not always truth. You begin to notice how often your own mind exaggerates small matters. A delayed reply becomes rejection. A mistake becomes proof of failure. A difficult morning becomes a bad life. Mental clarity interrupts that pattern. It gives you space. In that space, you can choose your response. In that space, you can act with wisdom instead of impulse. Many people believe clarity comes from having all the answers. That is not true. Clarity comes from seeing the next right step. It comes from knowing what deserves your attention now. It comes from making peace with the fact that you do not need to solve your entire life in a single afternoon. A mind that wins every time is not a mind that knows everything. It is a mind that knows how to return to the essential. When confusion rises, it does not collapse. It asks better questions. What is true here? What is useful here? What action is mine to take? What can wait? What must be released? These questions create order. Order creates calm. Calm creates better decisions. Better decisions create better outcomes. One of the biggest enemies of mental clarity is too much input, too many opinions, too much noise, too many screens, too many unfiltered thoughts entering the mind before the day has even begun. The first battle of the morning is often not against the world outside. It is against the world inside your own head. If you wake up and immediately reach for your phone, you hand your attention to someone else before you have even spoken to yourself. Your mind becomes filled with other people's urgency. That is not how a strong mind is built. A strong mind begins the day by creating a little space. It starts with breathing. It starts with silence. It starts with a moment of honest reflection before the world starts asking for your energy. You do not need a perfect morning routine to begin. You only need a deliberate one. Sit down for a few minutes without music, without scrolling, without conversation. Ask yourself what matters most today. Ask yourself what will move your life forward in a real way. Then write down 3 things. Not 10, not 23. The human mind handles a small, clear target much better than a long, confused list. When the day begins with too many tasks, it turns shallow. It jumps from one thing to another and leaves all of them half done. But when it begins with a few chosen priorities, the mind can commit. Clarity grows when choice is reduced. Strength grows when attention is protected. This practice will feel strange at first because many people are used to mental noise. Silence can feel uncomfortable when a person has spent years avoiding their own thoughts. That discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that your mind is finally meeting itself. Do not run from that moment. Stay with it. The first few minutes may bring restlessness. Thoughts will rise up. Old worries may speak loudly. Plans may appear unfinished. Regrets may return. This is normal. Mental clarity is not about having a blank mind. It is about not being controlled by every thought that appears. The goal is not to stop thinking. The goal is to think with purpose. A useful habit is to give your mind a daily place to land. Many people carry all their thoughts in their head all day long and wonder why they feel overwhelmed. The mind is not designed to hold everything at once. Write things down. Keep a simple notebook. Put tasks on paper. Put worries on paper. Put decisions on paper. Once a thought is written down, it stops floating around with such force. It becomes visible. When something is visible, it becomes easier to face. A clear page often leads to a clear mind. This is one of the most practical tools for self-mastery because it removes unnecessary mental clutter. It tells your brain that not everything must be remembered at once. Some things can be trusted to the page so the mind can return to the work in front of it. Another powerful practice is to protect your attention from constant switching. Every time you change focus, your mind pays a cost. The cost is small at first, but over time it becomes heavy. You feel scattered without knowing why. You lose time and also lose quality. A clear mind works best in blocks. Choose one task. Give it full attention for a set period of time. Close the other tabs. Put the phone away. Remove the small temptations that break concentration. Begin the task with full presence. You will do better work and you will feel less drained. This is not only about productivity. It is about self-respect. When you give your attention to one thing fully, you are training yourself to live with more discipline. There is also a moral strength in clarity. A confused person can be easily led. A clear person can stand firm. When your mind is sharp, you are less likely to be pushed around by fear or by the opinions of others. You can listen without being controlled. You can consider advice without losing yourself. You can accept correction without breaking. Clarity gives you backbone. It makes it easier to say no when something is not right for you. It makes it easier to say yes when something is aligned with your values. Many poor decisions are not made because a person lacks intelligence. They are made because the person was mentally crowded at the moment of choice. A clear mind is a safer mind. To practice focused thinking well, you must also learn to slow your reactions. Not every problem demands an immediate emotional response. Some things should be paused and examined. A difficult message from another person does not require an instant reply. A setback does not require immediate despair. A sudden wave of anger does not need to become action. Pause first. Breathe. Observe the moment without rushing to label it. This small pause gives your mind room to choose wisely. Stoic thinking is built on this skill. You remind yourself that while many events are outside your control, your response is always within your reach. That reminder changes everything. It turns you from a victim of circumstances into an active participant in your own life. A focused mind also needs healthy boundaries. Not every conversation deserves your time. Not every issue needs your opinion. Not every request should be answered immediately. A life without boundaries becomes a life without clarity. People enter your time and your thoughts without asking. Your day gets broken into pieces. Your energy leaks away. Set limits with kindness and firmness. Create space for thinking. Create space for rest. Create space for work. Do not feel guilty for protecting the mental conditions that allow you to be effective. A person who never guards their attention will eventually wonder why they cannot think deeply. The answer is often that they have given their mind away in too many directions. There is power in asking better questions during the day. When stress appears, many people ask destructive questions. Why is this happening to me? Why am I always like this? Why is everything hard? These questions do not create solutions. They deepen frustration. Replace them with clearer questions. What is actually happening here? What can I control? What is the next useful action? What do I need to accept? What can I improve? These questions calm the mind and direct it toward action. They are simple, but they work because they are honest. They keep you grounded in reality instead of trapping you in emotional exaggeration. The body and mind are deeply connected as well. A tired body creates a noisy mind. Poor sleep makes thinking harder. Constant stress makes clarity fragile. Rushed eating and shallow breathing keep the nervous system on edge. If you want a stronger mind, you must support it with better physical habits. Sleep enough. Drink water. Move your body. Take walks without your phone sometimes. Breathe fully. These are not small details. They are part of mental training. A person who respects their body is giving their mind a better place to work. You cannot expect clean thinking from a constantly exhausted system. Self-improvement must be practical or it will fail. The world often rewards speed, but wisdom still belongs to those who can think clearly. When you slow down enough to see what is actually true, you make fewer dramatic mistakes. You stop chasing every shiny idea. You stop investing your emotions in every passing mood. You begin to trust steady effort. You begin to trust daily practice. You understand that a winning life is usually built by ordinary actions repeated with care. The clear mind does not always feel exciting. It feels steady. It feels grounded. It feels calm enough to endure difficulty without losing direction. That is a deeper kind of power than excitement. It lasts. Daily focused thinking practice can be very simple. Choose a quiet time each day. Sit with a notebook or plain paper. Write the date. Then write the one thing that matters most today. Write the 2 distractions that are most likely to steal your focus. Write one response you will choose when stress appears. Write one honest thought about the direction of your life. Then sit silently for a few minutes and think about those words. Do not rush. Do not try to impress yourself. Just observe. This may seem basic, but it is a form of mental training. Over time, it teaches your brain to pause before reacting and to choose before drifting. That is how a stronger mind is formed. Another useful exercise is to review the day before sleep. Ask yourself where your attention was strong and where it was weak. Ask what pulled you away from your best thinking. Ask what helped you stay grounded. Ask what you will do differently tomorrow. This is not self-criticism. It is self-study. A person who studies their own mind becomes less surprised by their patterns. They begin to notice the moments when they are vulnerable to distraction or fear. Once a pattern is seen, it can be changed. You cannot improve what you refuse to observe. Honest reflection is one of the purest forms of power. You may notice that as your mind becomes clearer, your life becomes more demanding in a different way. You see more clearly what must change. You see the habits that no longer serve you. You see the conversations that drain you. You see the goals you have delayed. Clarity does not only comfort, it also confronts. That is why many people avoid it. A clear mind may ask you to act where you have been making excuses. It may ask you to leave behind what is familiar. It may ask you to become more disciplined than before. This is not punishment. It is growth. A person who wants a better life must be willing to see the truth about the one they have now. When you begin to think with focus, you will also gain more confidence. Confidence is not loud self-praise. It is the quiet trust that comes from knowing you can direct your mind. If you can think clearly under pressure, you will trust yourself more. If you can return to the task after distraction, you will trust yourself more. If you can observe your fear without obeying it, you will trust yourself more. This kind of confidence is earned. It is built through practice. It does not need approval from others because it comes from proven inner strength. A clear mind and a confident life often grow together. Remember that focus is not about perfection. Your mind will wander. Some days will feel messy. Some days your thoughts will be heavy. Some days your emotions will cloud your judgment. That does not mean the practice has failed. It means you are human. The goal is not flawless concentration. The goal is faster recovery. Every time you notice the drift and bring yourself back, you strengthen the mind. Every return is a victory. Every reset is training. Every honest effort counts. A mind that wins every time is not a mind that never gets distracted. It is a mind that knows how to come back. Over time, these small acts of focus reshape your character. You become less scattered and more intentional, less reactive and more thoughtful, less fearful and more steady. You stop living as though your mind is a place where anything can enter. You become the gatekeeper of your thoughts. You choose what feeds you. You choose what stays. You choose what leaves. That is a serious responsibility and also a great freedom. The person who can guide their own attention can guide their own life. A clear mind does not remove difficulty from the world. It gives you the strength to meet difficulty with wisdom. This is where real transformation begins. Not in a perfect mood, not in a dramatic moment, not in a promise made during emotional excitement. It begins in quiet repetition. It begins when you sit down with your thoughts and refuse to be lazy with your mind. It begins when you stop accepting mental chaos as normal. It begins when you choose order over noise and purpose over impulse. Do this daily and you will feel the difference. Not all at once, not instantly, but steadily. A better mind creates a better day. A better day repeated enough times creates a better life. So start small and start now. Clear a little space. Write down what matters. Remove one distraction. Choose one task. Breathe before reacting. Reflect before sleeping. Guard your attention like something valuable because it is valuable. Treat your mind with respect because your life depends on how well you use it. The world will keep pulling for your focus. That will not change. What can change is your response. You can become someone who thinks with clarity, acts with intention, and remains steady when others become lost in confusion. That is not just a useful skill. It is a life-changing way to live. A winning mind is built through daily focused thinking practice, not through wishes, not through noise, not through endless consumption, through discipline, through reflection, through calm attention, through the willingness to meet each day with a clear purpose and a clean mind. When you practice this long enough, you stop being controlled by every thought that enters your head. You become the one who chooses. You become the one who leads. And in that leadership over your own mind, you begin to win in ways that last. Chapter 2: Strengthen discipline by completing tasks before motivation appears. Discipline begins at the moment you stop waiting for the right feeling to arrive. Most people live as if motivation is a requirement before action can begin. They tell themselves they will start when the energy comes back, when the mood improves, when the pressure feels lighter, when the day becomes easier. That delay becomes a habit, and that habit weakens the mind. A strong mind does not ask permission from motivation. It acts because the work matters. It moves because delay has a cost. It understands that feelings are real, but they are not always reliable. If you build your life around feelings alone, you will live at their mercy. If you build your life around discipline, you will begin to lead your own life. There is a deep truth here that many people resist. Motivation is often a result of action, not the cause of it. When you begin the task, your mind wakes up. When you make the first move, your resistance starts to fade. When you keep going for a few minutes, the body and mind often follow. This is why waiting can be so dangerous. Waiting gives fear more room. Waiting gives excuses more time to grow. Waiting makes a simple task feel heavier than it is. But action breaks the spell. A person who starts before they feel ready becomes dangerous in the best way. They become someone who can be trusted to move even when the mood is not perfect. Discipline is not about living a cold or joyless life. It is about becoming free from inner chaos. It is the ability to tell yourself the truth and then obey it. You know what must be done. You know what matters. You know what you have postponed too many times. Discipline is the bridge between knowing and doing. Without it, your best ideas remain wishes. With it, your life starts to change in visible ways. You finish what you begin. You keep promises to yourself. You stop being ruled by excuses disguised as reasons. One of the best ways to strengthen discipline is to begin with the smallest possible action. Not a dramatic one. Not one that demands a burst of energy. A small action that proves to your mind that you are serious. Open the notebook, put on the shoes, sit at the desk, write the first sentence, wash one dish, clean one corner, read one page, send one message, do one rep. The purpose is not size. The purpose is movement. The mind often resists beginning more than continuing. Once you begin, the task loses some of its weight. A task that felt heavy in imagination becomes manageable in reality. This is where many people fail themselves. They wait to feel powerful before they act, but power is often built during the act. A person becomes stronger by doing the hard thing while still feeling uncertain. They become more capable by showing up again after a poor day. They become more stable by proving that their actions do not depend on mood. This is how self-respect is formed. Each time you do what you said you would do, you strengthen the part of you that trusts yourself. Each time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken that trust. Discipline is not only about external success. It is about becoming a person whose word has weight. You will not always feel inspired. You will not always feel sharp. There will be mornings when the body feels slow and the mind looks for comfort. There will be evenings when you want to stop before the work is finished. These moments matter. This is where character is built. A person who only performs when inspired remains fragile. A person who works without waiting for inspiration becomes dependable. Dependability is a rare and powerful trait. It creates progress because it removes the drama from daily effort. You do not need to argue with yourself every morning. You already decided. The decision was made before the mood arrived. A useful practice is to set a start time and obey it. Not a vague intention, a real time. At that time you begin whether you feel like it or not. This trains the mind to respect structure. Another helpful practice is to keep your promises small enough that you can keep them consistently. If you promise too much and fail, often your mind learns that your word is weak. But if you promise something simple and deliver it every day, your confidence grows. Discipline is built through repeated trust. Start with what you can actually sustain, then increase the weight slowly. A strong life is built through gradual seriousness. It also helps to separate discomfort from danger. Many tasks feel unpleasant without being harmful. The mind often tries to treat discomfort as a threat. It says, "This is hard, therefore stop." That is not wisdom. That is weakness pretending to be caution. Not every hard thing is a bad thing. In fact, many of the things that improve your life are uncomfortable at first. Exercise is uncomfortable. Honest work is uncomfortable. Learning new skills is uncomfortable. Saying no to temptation is uncomfortable. Facing a mistake is uncomfortable. Yet these are the very things that build a life with strength in it. Discipline is the willingness to move through discomfort when the outcome is worth it. A stoic mind remembers that comfort is not the highest good. A good life is not built on easy moments alone. It is built on character. Character grows when you do the right thing without waiting for perfect conditions. You may not control the weather of your emotions. You may not control the timing of every opportunity. You may not control how quickly progress comes. But you do control whether you begin. You do control whether you remain honest. You do control whether you surrender to delay. That is enough power to change your life if you use it well. To make discipline real in daily life, you need routines that reduce decision fatigue. Make some things automatic. Decide in advance when you will work, when you will rest, when you will train, when you will reflect. The less you negotiate with yourself, the easier it becomes to stay consistent. Discipline is not always about heroic effort. Often it is about simple systems, a clear morning routine, a fixed work block, a short planning session, A rule that you begin the hardest task before checking messages. These small structures protect you from your own drift. They keep your day from being taken over by distraction and softness. When resistance appears, do not turn it into a story. Do not say this is just who I am. Do not say I am not the kind of person who finishes things. Those words become identity, and identity becomes behavior. Speak differently. Say I do difficult things even when I do not feel ready. Say I begin before I feel fully comfortable. Say I can work with this feeling without obeying it. Language shapes action. The words you repeat to yourself either weaken you or steady you. Choose words that support the life you are trying to build. There is also a quiet pride that comes from disciplined living. It is not the loud pride of showing off. It is the deeper pride of knowing you are living in line with your values. When others are wasting time, you are building. When others are waiting for a better mood, you are moving. When others are making excuses, you are finishing. That difference changes the way you see yourself. You become someone who can be counted on. You become someone with inner order. That kind of strength brings peace because it removes regret. You know you did not betray your own standards today. Sometimes discipline will feel like sacrifice. You will miss out on some comforts. You may have to say no to things that others enjoy in the moment. That is part of the price. But sacrifice is not loss when it protects your future. Every strong person pays with comfort. Every weak pattern is fed by comfort. The question is not whether something will cost you. The question is what it will cost you later if you refuse the work now. Discipline pays twice. It pays in the present because you become more capable. It pays in the future because your habits start to carry you. If you struggle with starting, ask yourself one honest question. What is the smallest next action I can take right now? Not the whole project, not the entire journey, just the next step. Then do that step immediately. That habit alone can change the shape of your life. A disciplined person does not need every answer before moving. They trust the process enough to begin. They understand that progress often comes after the first act, not before it. You do not need a perfect plan to earn momentum. You need enough courage to start. The more often you complete tasks before motivation appears, the less power motivation has over you. Over time, your mind learns a new rule. It learns that action comes first and feelings follow. This rule is simple but life-changing. It turns you from a person who waits into a person who builds. It turns you from someone who hopes into someone who executes. It turns your days from scattered attempts into deliberate movement. That is how discipline becomes a way of living rather than a temporary effort. Keep going even when the result is not immediate. Many people quit because they expect quick proof that their effort matters. But some of the most valuable results grow slowly. Your discipline today may not look impressive tonight. It may not bring praise. It may not feel dramatic, yet it is shaping the next version of you. Every time you act before motivation, you are teaching your mind that weakness does not get the final word. You are becoming steadier. You are becoming harder to distract. You are becoming harder to break. That is the real victory, not a burst of energy, not a short-lived surge of willpower. Real victory is when discipline becomes normal, when action becomes your first response, when your word means something, when your life begins to reflect your standards instead of your excuses. Start small. Start now. Start before you feel ready. That is how a winning mind is built. Chapter 30. Build resilience by facing challenges without emotional avoidance. Resilience begins the moment you stop running from discomfort and start facing life as it truly is. Many people believe resilience means being tough or hiding emotion. That is not resilience. Real resilience is the ability to remain steady while feeling everything honestly. It is the strength to face problems directly without escaping into denial, distraction, or emotional avoidance. A resilient mind does not pretend difficulty does not exist. It sees the challenge clearly and chooses to move forward anyway. Avoidance is one of the most common habits that weakens people over time. When something feels uncomfortable, the mind looks for relief. It turns to distractions. It delays important conversations. It ignores problems that need attention. It buries feelings instead of understanding them. This may feel helpful in the moment, but it quietly creates pressure inside. Problems that are ignored rarely disappear. They grow quietly. They gather weight. Eventually, they demand more energy than if they were faced early. Resilience grows when you stop feeding this cycle and choose to meet challenges when they appear. Facing challenges without emotional avoidance does not mean you must become emotionless. It means you allow emotions to exist without letting them control your actions. Fear may appear. Disappointment may appear. Frustration may rise. These reactions are natural. The key is to notice them without surrendering to them. A resilient person recognizes the feeling and continues moving in the right direction. They understand that emotions are temporary, but decisions shape the future. This understanding creates inner stability. It builds confidence that no matter what you feel, you can still act wisely. There is a quiet courage in sitting with difficult emotions instead of escaping them. When you feel stress, the mind often looks for quick relief. It wants to check something on a screen. It wants to avoid the task. It wants to delay the decision. But when you pause and remain present, you begin to realize something important. Most emotions rise and fall like waves. They feel intense, but they do not last forever. When you stop running, you begin to see that you can endure discomfort without breaking. This realization strengthens your resilience more than any motivational message ever could. Life will present challenges whether you prepare for them or not. Unexpected setbacks arrive, plans change, people disappoint you, mistakes happen. The resilient person does not waste time asking why everything is difficult. They ask what can be done next. They remain grounded in action. They accept that struggle is part of growth. This acceptance removes unnecessary frustration. Instead of resisting reality, they work within it. This mindset creates calm strength. It allows you to move forward without wasting energy fighting what already exists. One practical way to build resilience is to face small challenges intentionally. You do not need to wait for a crisis. Choose actions that stretch your comfort zone slightly. Speak honestly when it feels difficult. Take responsibility when you make a mistake. Finish tasks that require patience. Try something new even when you feel unsure. These small acts train your mind to tolerate discomfort. Over time, your capacity grows. Challenges that once felt overwhelming begin to feel manageable. This is how resilience develops gradually. Another powerful practice is to observe your reactions when things go wrong. Notice how your mind responds. Does it exaggerate the situation? Does it blame others immediately? Does it assume the worst outcome? These patterns are common, but they are not helpful. A resilient mind slows down and looks for facts. It separates what actually happened from what the mind is imagining. This skill prevents emotional escalation. It keeps your thinking clear even in difficult moments. The ability to remain calm under stress is not something you are born with. It is something you practice. There is also strength in accepting what cannot be controlled. Many people suffer because they try to control everything around them. They want certainty in uncertain situations. They want guarantees in a changing world. This creates tension. Resilience grows when you focus on what is within your control. Your effort, your attitude, your response. When you shift your attention to these areas, you regain power. You stop feeling helpless. You begin to see that even in difficult circumstances, you still have influence over your path. Resilience also requires patience. Some problems cannot be solved immediately. Some wounds take time to heal. Some goals require sustained effort. Emotional avoidance often appears when progress is slow. The mind wants to escape the frustration of waiting, but resilience teaches you to remain steady. It teaches you to continue showing up even when results are not visible yet. This kind of persistence builds deep strength. It shapes your character. It prepares you for larger challenges later. You may notice that resilience changes the way you see failure. Instead of treating failure as a final judgment, you begin to see it as feedback. Every setback carries information. It shows what needs improvement. It reveals weak points. It teaches lessons that success often hides. A resilient person studies failure calmly. They do not let shame stop them from learning. They ask what went wrong and what can be improved. This mindset turns difficulty into growth. It transforms painful moments into stepping stones. There will be times when emotions feel heavy. You may feel tired, discouraged, or uncertain. In those moments, resilience means staying grounded in simple actions. Take one step forward, complete one task, have one honest conversation, do something small that aligns with your values. Movement reduces helplessness. It reminds you that you are not stuck. Even slow progress is still progress. This perspective keeps your mind stable during difficult periods. It is also important to create space for reflection. After facing a challenge, take time to think about what you learned. Notice how you handled the situation. Recognize where you stayed calm and where you reacted quickly. This reflection strengthens your awareness. It prepares you for future challenges. Resilience grows when you learn from experience rather than rushing past it. A thoughtful mind becomes more capable with each difficulty. You will also find that resilience improves your relationships. When you stop avoiding difficult conversations, you create honesty. When you face misunderstandings directly, you prevent resentment. When you handle stress calmly, you bring stability to others. People trust resilient individuals because they remain steady during uncertainty. This reliability builds strong connections. It also creates a sense of respect within yourself. There is a powerful sense of freedom that comes with resilience. When you know you can handle difficulty, you stop fearing it so much. You become willing to take meaningful risks. You pursue growth opportunities. You stop limiting yourself because of potential discomfort. This freedom expands your life. It allows you to move toward goals with courage. It encourages you to live fully rather than cautiously. Resilience also requires self-compassion. Facing challenges does not mean being harsh toward yourself. It means supporting yourself with patience and understanding. When you make mistakes, treat them as learning moments. When you feel overwhelmed, allow yourself to rest without quitting. A balanced approach keeps your strength sustainable. Resilience is not about pushing endlessly. It is about recovering and continuing. As you practice facing challenges without emotional avoidance, you will notice a shift in your mindset. Problems that once created panic begin to create focus. Uncertainty becomes an opportunity for growth. You become less reactive and more thoughtful. This transformation happens gradually. Each challenge you face adds another layer of strength. Each moment you choose courage over avoidance reinforces your resilience. Life becomes more meaningful when you stop running from difficulty. Challenges shape your character. They teach patience, discipline, and wisdom. When you face them directly, you gain experience that cannot be learned any other way. You develop confidence that comes from real effort. You understand your capabilities more clearly. This knowledge builds inner peace. Resilience is not built in a single moment. It is built through repeated decisions. Every time you choose to face discomfort, you strengthen your mind. Every time you remain calm during stress, you grow steadier. Every time you learn from setbacks, you become wiser. These small victories accumulate. They transform you into someone who can handle life with confidence. Continue to face life honestly. Accept challenges as part of growth. Stay present with your emotions without letting them control your actions. Move forward even when progress feels slow. Reflect on your experiences and learn from them. Over time, you will notice that your mind becomes stronger. You will feel more capable. You will approach life with calm determination. This is the essence of resilience. It is quiet strength built through experience. It is courage developed through action. It is stability formed through patience. When you face challenges without emotional avoidance, you create a mind that does not break easily. You build a foundation that supports long-term success. And with that foundation, you begin to move through life with confidence, clarity, and steady determination. Chapter 4: Train your mind to respond calmly under pressure. Pressure reveals the true condition of the mind. When life is easy, it is simple to appear calm. When the deadline is close and the people around you are demanding and the outcome matters and your body feels tense, your real training begins. A calm response under pressure is not a personality trait reserved for a few naturally composed people. It is a skill. It is built through repeated practice. It grows when you stop treating stress as a signal to panic and begin treating it as a signal to slow down, think clearly, and act with control. Most people lose their center because they believe pressure should not be there. They resist it. They argue with it. They think, this should not be happening now. This is too much. This is not the right moment. That reaction only adds more weight. Pressure becomes heavier when it is met with mental resistance. A disciplined mind takes a different approach. It accepts that pressure is part of life and then chooses a response that keeps the mind steady. You cannot always remove the strain, but you can train yourself not to become ruled by it. Calmness under pressure begins before the pressure arrives. It is shaped in ordinary moments. The way you handle a late appointment, a difficult message, a small mistake, or a change in plans all matter. These are not small things. They are rehearsals. Every time you stay composed in a minor inconvenience, you teach your nervous system a useful lesson. You show yourself that discomfort does not have to lead to chaos. You teach your mind to stay in the room when tension shows up. That training becomes priceless when the stakes are higher. One of the first habits to develop is the habit of slowing your breathing before reacting. A tense mind often breathes in a shallow and rushed way. That breathing tells the body that danger is near, which makes the mind even more unsettled. A few slow breaths can begin to reverse that cycle. You do not need a long ritual. You need a pause. When pressure rises, stop for a moment and breathe in with care and breathe out more slowly than you breathed in. This small act helps create space between the event and your reaction. That space is where wisdom lives. Another important habit is to speak to yourself with steady language. Pressure makes many people think in extremes. They say everything is ruined. They say they cannot handle it. They say this always happens. Those words make the mind smaller and more fearful. Replace them with clear and honest statements. This is difficult but manageable. I only need the next step. I do not need to solve everything at once. I can stay steady for this moment. These simple lines may sound small, but they guide the mind away from panic and toward function. Under pressure, the goal is not dramatic inspiration. The goal is useful thought. A calm mind also knows how to separate facts from fears. When tension appears, the imagination becomes loud. It starts predicting failure, embarrassment, and loss. The mind builds stories very quickly, and most of those stories are not helpful. Train yourself to ask, what do I know for sure right now? What is real? What is assumed? What is within my control? This practice keeps your mind honest. It prevents emotional exaggeration from taking over. People make better decisions when they are dealing with facts instead of fear-based guesses. Pressure often exposes where a person relies too much on comfort. If your life has been built around avoiding discomfort, even a small challenge can feel overwhelming. That is why calmness must be trained. Start exposing yourself to manageable tension on purpose. Give yourself tasks with deadlines and complete them without delay. Speak up when you usually stay silent. Stay with a difficult task longer than feels convenient. These moments create strength. The mind learns that pressure does not have to destroy focus. It learns how to remain useful while under strain. There is also value in preparation. Many people become anxious because they have not prepared well, yet they still hope to remain calm when trouble comes. That is not realistic. Preparation reduces panic. When you know you have done the work, your mind stands on firmer ground, so prepare in advance. Organize your materials. Review what matters before the meeting. Think through likely problems before the situation begins. A calm response under pressure is easier when the groundwork is already in place. Discipline before the event produces stability during the event. Still, even with preparation, pressure can surprise you. In those moments, remember that not every feeling deserves a decision. A surge of stress is not a command. You may feel urgency, but urgency does not always mean action must be rushed. In fact, rushing often makes things worse. A steady person moves with intention. They do not become slow in a careless way, but they refuse to be dragged into panic. They understand that a hurried mind is less accurate and less effective. Calm is a performance advantage. It improves judgment. It protects quality. It keeps you from creating extra problems while trying to solve the first one. It helps to define your role during tense moments. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be in this situation? The answer might be someone who listens carefully, someone who stays respectful, someone who makes the next clear decision, someone who does not spread fear to others. Your identity can guide your behavior when emotion is trying to pull you away from your values. A person who knows who they are can remain steadier because they are not rebuilding themselves in the middle of the pressure. They are drawing from a standard that already exists. One powerful practice is to focus only on the present task. Pressure often makes the mind jump ahead to consequences. That is where panic grows. Bring your attention back to what needs to be done right now. The next answer, the next call, the next page, the next step. This narrow focus is not avoidance, it is control. It prevents your energy from leaking into future worries that have not happened yet. When you reduce the mental load to one clear action, the body can settle and the mind can work. You will also need to learn how to tolerate the discomfort of not looking perfect. Many people become tense because they want to appear fully composed at all times. That is a heavy burden. It creates more pressure than the situation itself. Release that need. You do not need to look flawless. You need to be effective. There is strength in being honest about difficulty without falling apart. There is strength in saying, "This is a challenge, and I am working through it." That kind of honesty is far more powerful than pretending nothing is wrong. A calm response under pressure also depends on how well you manage your inner life when no one is watching. If your mind is filled with unresolved conflict, poor rest, and constant stimulation, pressure will hit harder. Give your mind regular quiet time. Reduce unnecessary input. Sleep well. Move your body. Keep your surroundings orderly enough to support clear thought. These are simple things, but they shape your ability to respond well when the pace increases. A strong response in crisis is often the result of a healthy ordinary day. When pressure is high, never underestimate the value of a short pause before speaking. Many regrets are born in rushed words. A pause does not make you weak. It makes you wise. It gives your mind time to catch up with the moment. It allows emotion to settle enough for reason to speak. In a stressful conversation, a few seconds can change the entire outcome. You do not need to answer every point immediately. You do not need to defend yourself at once. Sometimes the calmest response is the most powerful one. It is also useful to remember that pressure often passes faster than it feels in the moment. When you are inside it, the experience can seem endless. Yet many stressful periods lose their force once they are met with patience and structure. Remind yourself that this moment is not your whole life. It is one part of a larger path. That perspective reduces panic. It keeps you from turning a temporary strain into a personal collapse. You are more than the current difficulty. You are larger than the current problem. With practice, calmness becomes more natural. You will notice that your mind does not instantly race in the same way it once did. You will catch yourself sooner. You will breathe sooner. You will choose words more carefully. You will stop and think before reacting. This progress may seem small to others, but it is deeply important. A person who can remain calm under pressure can solve problems that defeat people who are more talented but less steady. Calmness is not passive. It is a form of strength that improves every area of life. The world does not always reward the loudest person. It often rewards the person who can think clearly when others are shaken. That kind of mind is rare because it has been trained. It has learned how to stay present when life becomes intense. It does not waste energy on fear-based spirals. It does not collapse under every demand. It remains usable. It remains focused. It remains guided by reason and discipline rather than impulse. So practice this daily. Breathe before you react. Ask for the facts. Slow the inner noise. Focus on one next step. Speak with care. Prepare before pressure appears. Treat every stressful moment as a place to train your mind. In time, your response will become stronger. You will begin to trust yourself more because you will know that pressure no longer controls you in the same way. That trust changes everything. It gives you a steadier life. It gives you better decisions. It gives you the kind of inner power that lasts long after the moment of stress has passed. Chapter 50. Create routines that reinforce growth and daily improvement. Growth rarely happens by accident. It happens when daily actions are shaped with intention. Many people wait for large breakthroughs while ignoring the quiet power of routine. They expect change to come through sudden inspiration or dramatic moments. Yet lasting improvement usually comes from small actions repeated with care. A routine is not a rigid cage. It is a structure that protects your progress. It removes confusion. It helps you show up consistently even when your energy changes. When you build routines that support growth, you reduce the gap between who you are and who you want to become. A strong routine creates stability. Life often brings unexpected events, changing moods and shifting priorities. Without structure, these changes pull your attention in different directions. You begin the day with good intentions, yet distractions quietly take over. At the end of the day, you feel busy but not fulfilled. A thoughtful routine keeps you grounded. It provides a path you can return to even when circumstances become difficult. It ensures that your important habits are not left to chance. The first step in building growth-focused routines is to identify what truly matters. Many people try to improve everything at once. This leads to exhaustion and frustration. Choose a few areas that will make the greatest difference. It might be learning, physical health, focused work, reflection, or personal discipline. Once you choose these areas, design small actions that support them. The goal is not complexity. The goal is consistency. A simple routine practiced daily becomes powerful over time. Morning routines play an important role in shaping the day. The first actions after waking often set the tone for everything that follows. When you start with intention, your mind becomes more directed. You do not need a long or complicated routine. You need something meaningful. Begin with quiet reflection. Spend a few minutes thinking about what matters today, then move your body. This wakes your mind and improves your focus. After that, review your priorities. Decide what you will complete before the day becomes busy. These small steps help you start with clarity and purpose. Evening routines are equally important. The way you end your day influences how you begin the next one. Many people finish their day without reflection. They carry unfinished thoughts into sleep. This weakens clarity. Instead, create a simple closing routine. Review your actions. Notice what went well. Consider what can improve. Prepare for tomorrow. This habit clears mental space. It also builds awareness. You become more intentional with each passing day. Routines also help you develop discipline without constant effort. When an action becomes part of your daily structure, you no longer debate whether to do it. You simply follow the plan. This reduces decision fatigue. It saves mental energy for meaningful tasks. Discipline becomes easier because your environment supports it. You remove unnecessary friction and create conditions for success. It is important to keep routines flexible enough to adapt to change. Life is not predictable. Some days will not follow your ideal schedule. When this happens, avoid frustration. Instead, return to the essentials. Even a shortened version of your routine keeps momentum alive. This approach prevents all or nothing thinking. You remain committed without demanding perfection. Progress continues even during challenging days. Another key element of growth routines is tracking your actions. This does not require complicated systems. A simple notebook or checklist is enough. Mark each day you complete your routine. This visual record creates motivation. You see your consistency. You also notice patterns. If you miss a day, you become aware quickly. Awareness helps you return to your path before small breaks turn into long gaps. Routines should also include learning. Continuous improvement requires exposure to new ideas. Set aside time daily to read, listen, or study. This habit sharpens your thinking. It expands your perspective. Over time, the knowledge accumulates. Small learning sessions become a powerful advantage. Growth becomes steady instead of occasional. Physical routines also influence mental strength. Movement improves energy, focus, and resilience. You do not need extreme workouts. Simple daily activity is enough. Walk, stretch, or exercise for a short period. This supports your body and mind. When your energy improves, your ability to grow increases. Physical discipline strengthens mental discipline. It is also helpful to include moments of stillness in your routine. Quiet time allows you to think clearly. It reduces mental clutter. It helps you reconnect with your goals. This stillness does not require perfection. Sit quietly for a few minutes. Observe your thoughts. Let your mind settle. This simple habit strengthens awareness and focus. Growth routines should also include meaningful work. Choose a block of time where you focus deeply on important tasks. Protect this time. Avoid distractions. Give your full attention to one goal. This practice improves productivity and builds confidence. You prove to yourself that you can create progress daily. Another important part of routine is gratitude. Taking a moment to appreciate what you have changes your mindset. It reduces negativity. It builds emotional balance. This practice does not require elaborate steps. Simply acknowledge a few positive aspects of your life. This habit creates a calm and focused outlook. Routines also help reduce procrastination. When you know exactly what to do next, hesitation decreases. You move forward with clarity. This removes unnecessary stress. You no longer spend energy deciding repeatedly. Instead, you follow your structure. Over time, this creates a sense of control over your day. As you build routines, start small. Avoid overwhelming yourself with too many changes. Choose a few habits and practice them consistently. Once they become natural, add another. Gradual growth is more sustainable than sudden transformation. Patience strengthens discipline. It prevents burnout. Consistency matters more than intensity. A short routine practiced daily is more effective than long routines practiced rarely. Growth depends on repetition. Each day adds another layer. Over weeks and months, the results become visible. You develop stronger habits, clearer thinking, and greater confidence. There will be days when routines feel difficult. Your energy may drop. Motivation may fade. This is normal. These moments test your commitment. Continue with simple actions. Even minimal effort keeps the chain alive. Each time you follow your routine despite resistance, you strengthen your discipline. Routines also shape your identity. When you practice growth habits daily, you begin to see yourself differently. You become someone who values improvement. This identity reinforces your actions. You act in alignment with who you are becoming. This creates lasting transformation. Another benefit of routines is reduced stress. When your day has structure, uncertainty decreases. You know when to work, learn, and rest. This balance supports well-being. Growth becomes sustainable. You avoid exhaustion while maintaining progress. It is also important to review your routines regularly. Life changes. Goals evolve. Adjust your structure when needed. Remove habits that no longer serve you. Add new ones that support your growth. This keeps your routines relevant and effective. Over time, routines create momentum. You no longer rely on bursts of effort. Progress becomes steady. Small improvements accumulate. Your mind becomes stronger. Your actions become more purposeful. You begin to experience real transformation. The power of routine lies in repetition. Each day becomes an opportunity to grow. You do not need dramatic change. You need steady commitment. By creating routines that reinforce growth, you build a foundation for success. Your days become intentional. Your progress becomes consistent. Your life moves forward with clarity and discipline. Continue building your routines with patience. Keep them simple and meaningful. Adjust them when necessary. Stay consistent even when progress feels slow. Over time, you will notice a shift. Growth becomes natural. Improvement becomes daily. And your mind becomes stronger with each passing day. Chapter 6c. Replace negative self-talk with purposeful constructive thinking. The voice inside your mind shapes the direction of your life more than any outside influence. Every day you speak to yourself in quiet moments. You comment on your progress. You judge your mistakes. You predict your future. These thoughts often happen so quickly that you hardly notice them. Yet they influence your emotions, your confidence, and your decisions. When this inner voice becomes negative, it slowly weakens your motivation and limits your growth. When it becomes constructive, it builds strength, clarity, and forward movement. Learning to replace negative self-talk with purposeful thinking is one of the most important skills you can develop. Negative self-talk often begins as a habit rather than a conscious decision. It grows from past experiences, disappointments, and comparisons. You may tell yourself that you are not capable enough or that success belongs to others. You may replay mistakes repeatedly and treat them as permanent flaws. You may assume that difficult tasks are beyond your ability before even trying. These thoughts create invisible barriers. They reduce effort before action even begins. Over time, they shape how you see yourself and how you approach opportunities. The first step toward change is awareness. You cannot transform what you do not notice. Begin observing your inner dialogue during ordinary moments. Pay attention to how you react when something goes wrong. Notice what you say to yourself when you face a challenge. Do you encourage yourself or do you criticize harshly? Awareness alone creates distance between you and the thought. It allows you to see that negative self-talk is not truth. It is simply a pattern that has been repeated. Negative self-talk often exaggerates problems. A small mistake becomes a sign of failure. A delay becomes proof of inability. This exaggeration increases emotional weight. Purposeful, constructive thinking takes a different approach. It looks at situations realistically. It acknowledges mistakes without turning them into personal attacks. Instead of saying you failed completely, you say you made an error and can improve. This shift changes your emotional response. It reduces stress and keeps you focused on solutions. Constructive thinking is not blind optimism. It is disciplined thinking grounded in reality. It does not ignore difficulties. It acknowledges them and searches for productive responses. When something does not go as planned, constructive thinking asks what can be learned. It asks what action can improve the outcome. This mindset keeps you moving forward instead of becoming stuck in self-doubt. Another important aspect of constructive thinking is replacing judgment with curiosity. Negative self-talk often uses harsh language. It labels you as incapable or weak. This language shuts down growth. Curiosity opens new possibilities. Instead of criticizing yourself, ask questions. Ask what you can do differently next time. Ask what skill you need to develop. Ask what small step you can take now. Questions guide your mind toward progress. Your inner voice should become a guide rather than a critic. A guide offers direction. It encourages effort. It focuses on growth. When you speak to yourself with purpose, you create a supportive environment within your mind. This support strengthens resilience. It helps you continue even when progress feels slow. It is also helpful to challenge negative assumptions. When you notice a discouraging thought, pause and examine it. Ask whether the thought is based on facts or fear. Many negative thoughts rely on incomplete information. By questioning them, you weaken their influence. You replace assumptions with balanced thinking. This process requires patience, but becomes easier with practice. Another useful method is to focus on effort rather than perfection. Negative self-talk often appears when expectations are unrealistic. You may expect flawless performance and become discouraged when mistakes occur. Constructive thinking values progress. It recognizes that growth involves learning and adjustment. By focusing on effort, you build confidence. You become willing to try again without fear. Your environment also influences your inner dialogue. Constant comparison with others can trigger negative thinking. When you compare your progress to someone else's success, you may feel inadequate. Instead, focus on your own path. Measure improvement against your past performance. This perspective builds self-respect. It encourages steady growth. Daily reflection helps reinforce constructive thinking. Spend a few minutes reviewing your day. Notice where negative thoughts appeared. Consider how you could respond differently next time. This reflection strengthens awareness. It prepares your mind for future challenges. Constructive thinking also requires patience. Changing your inner voice takes time. Old habits may return occasionally. When this happens, respond calmly. Recognize the pattern and redirect your thoughts. Each correction strengthens your discipline. Over time, constructive thinking becomes more natural. It is also important to recognize your achievements. Negative self-talk often ignores progress. It focuses only on mistakes. Acknowledge your efforts and improvements. This does not mean ignoring areas for growth. It means maintaining balance. Recognizing progress builds motivation and confidence. Purposeful thinking also involves setting realistic goals. Clear goals give your mind direction. Without direction, negative thoughts can dominate. When you know what you are working toward, your thinking becomes focused. You measure progress and adjust your approach. This clarity reduces uncertainty. Constructive thinking supports emotional stability. When you face challenges, your inner voice remains calm. It encourages problem solving. This calmness improves decision-making. You respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Over time, constructive thinking shapes your identity. You begin to see yourself as capable and resilient. This identity influences your behavior. You approach challenges with confidence. You persist despite obstacles. Your mindset becomes a source of strength. Replacing negative self-talk also improves relationships. When you treat yourself with respect, you extend that respect to others. You communicate more effectively. You handle disagreements calmly. Constructive thinking promotes understanding and cooperation. Another benefit is improved focus. Negative thoughts often distract you from important tasks. Constructive thinking keeps your attention on solutions. You become more productive and efficient. This productivity reinforces positive thinking. Remember that your mind listens to your words. Speak to yourself with intention. Choose language that encourages growth. Avoid harsh criticism. Replace it with guidance. This simple shift creates powerful change. Constructive thinking also encourages responsibility. Instead of blaming circumstances, you focus on what you can control. This approach empowers you. You take action and create progress. Responsibility builds confidence. As you continue practicing purposeful thinking, you will notice a shift in your mindset. Challenges become opportunities for learning. Mistakes become valuable feedback. You become more resilient and focused. This transformation strengthens your overall growth. Your inner voice becomes a steady companion. It supports your goals. It encourages discipline. It helps you navigate difficult moments. This supportive mindset creates long-term success. The journey to constructive thinking requires consistency. Practice awareness daily. Challenge negative thoughts. Replace them with purposeful guidance. Maintain patience and persistence. Over time, your inner dialogue becomes stronger and more encouraging. This transformation does not happen overnight. It develops gradually through repeated effort. Each time you choose constructive thinking, you strengthen your mindset. You build resilience, confidence, and clarity. Your thoughts influence your actions. Your actions shape your life. By replacing negative self-talk with purposeful, constructive thinking, you create a foundation for growth. You develop a mind that supports success rather than limiting it. Continue practicing this skill daily. Over time, your inner voice will guide you toward steady improvement and lasting fulfillment. Chapter 7. Take full ownership of choices and personal outcomes. Taking full ownership of your choices changes the direction of your life in a quiet but powerful way. Many people move through life reacting to circumstances while believing that outside forces control most outcomes. They blame timing, other people, lack of opportunity, or past experiences. These explanations may contain truth, yet they often create helplessness. When you give away responsibility, you also give away power. Ownership brings that power back. It shifts your mindset from passive acceptance to active participation. It turns you from someone waiting for change into someone creating change. Ownership begins with accepting that every decision shapes your path. Some decisions are large and obvious, while others are small and easily overlooked. The choice to wake up early or stay in bed, the choice to speak honestly or remain silent, the choice to prepare or delay, each one creates momentum. Over time, these choices accumulate. They form habits. They define character. They influence opportunities. When you understand this, you begin to treat decisions with greater care. Many people struggle with ownership because it requires honesty. It asks you to examine your actions without excuses. This can feel uncomfortable at first. It is easier to blame circumstances than to admit personal responsibility. Yet growth begins with honesty. When you recognize your role in outcomes, you gain the ability to improve them. You stop repeating the same patterns. You start making better choices. Taking ownership does not mean blaming yourself for everything. Life includes factors beyond your control. Unexpected challenges appear. External conditions change. Ownership means focusing on your response. Even when circumstances are difficult, your reaction still matters. You decide how to adapt. You decide how to move forward. This mindset builds resilience and confidence. Ownership also strengthens discipline. When you accept responsibility for your actions, you become more intentional. You think before making decisions. You consider long-term consequences. This awareness reduces impulsive behavior. It encourages thoughtful planning. Over time, your actions align more closely with your goals. Another important aspect of ownership is accountability. Holding yourself accountable builds trust within yourself. When you follow through on commitments, you strengthen your self-respect. When you fall short, you acknowledge it and adjust. This process creates reliability. You become someone who honors your own standards. Ownership also improves decision-making. When you accept responsibility, you analyze choices more carefully. You consider risks and benefits. You learn from past experiences. This thoughtful approach reduces repeated mistakes. It increases your ability to navigate complex situations. Taking ownership requires letting go of victim thinking. Victim thinking focuses on what others did wrong. It emphasizes unfairness and limitation. While these experiences may be real, staying in this mindset prevents growth. Ownership shifts focus to what you can do next. It empowers you to create solutions. This change in perspective transforms challenges into opportunities. Ownership also encourages learning. When you accept responsibility for outcomes, you become curious about improvement. You ask what skills you need to develop. You seek knowledge and experience. This learning mindset accelerates growth. It helps you adapt to changing circumstances. It is helpful to reflect regularly on your choices. Spend time reviewing your actions and their results. Notice patterns. Identify areas for improvement. This reflection strengthens awareness. It prepares you for future decisions. Ownership also involves emotional maturity. When things do not go as planned, it is easy to react with frustration. Ownership encourages calm evaluation. You acknowledge disappointment while focusing on solutions. This approach maintains clarity and progress. Taking ownership also builds confidence. When you see the connection between your actions and outcomes, you realize your influence. You recognize your ability to create change. This confidence motivates continued effort. It encourages persistence. Ownership also improves relationships. When you take responsibility for your words and actions, you build trust. You communicate honestly. You acknowledge mistakes. This honesty strengthens connections. It creates respect. Another benefit of ownership is increased focus. When you accept responsibility, you prioritize meaningful actions. You stop wasting time on blame. You direct energy toward improvement. This focus enhances productivity. Ownership also supports resilience. When challenges arise, you respond proactively. You adapt strategies. You continue moving forward. This resilience builds long-term success. It is important to practice ownership daily. Start with small decisions. Choose actions aligned with your values. Follow through consistently. These small steps create lasting change. Ownership also requires patience. Results may not appear immediately. Continue making thoughtful decisions. Over time, your efforts accumulate. Progress becomes visible. Taking ownership also means accepting mistakes. Mistakes provide valuable lessons. Instead of avoiding them, learn from them. This approach accelerates growth. Ownership also encourages independence. You rely less on external validation. You trust your judgment. This independence strengthens confidence. Another key element is clarity. Understand your goals and values. Clear direction improves decision-making. It ensures your choices align with your priorities. Ownership also promotes discipline. You create routines that support your goals. You maintain consistency. This discipline reinforces growth. Taking ownership also reduces regret. When you act intentionally, you avoid missed opportunities. You move forward with confidence. Ownership also fosters leadership. When you take responsibility, others notice. They trust your reliability. This trust creates opportunities. Continue practicing ownership in every area of life. Reflect on decisions. Learn from outcomes. Adjust strategies. Maintain honesty. Over time, ownership becomes natural. You respond to challenges with confidence. You make thoughtful choices. You create consistent progress. Taking full ownership transforms your mindset. You become proactive rather than reactive. You build discipline, resilience, and clarity. Your actions align with your goals. Your life reflects your choices. This journey requires commitment. Practice daily. Stay honest. Learn continuously. With ownership, you gain control over your direction. You create meaningful growth. You develop a mind that wins through responsibility and intentional action. Chapter 8c. Focus energy on actions that produce measurable progress. Energy is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Time moves forward whether you use it wisely or not, but energy determines how effectively you use that time. Many people spend their days working hard yet still feel stuck. They stay busy from morning to night, but struggle to see meaningful improvement. This happens when energy is scattered across activities that create little progress. Focusing your energy on actions that produce measurable progress changes everything. It turns effort into results. It replaces frustration with direction. It gives your work purpose and clarity. Not every action has equal value. Some tasks move your life forward while others only create the illusion of productivity. Responding to every message immediately may feel productive, yet it rarely leads to long-term growth. Organizing minor details repeatedly may feel satisfying, yet it may not create meaningful advancement. A focused mind learns to identify which actions actually matter. This awareness prevents wasted effort. It ensures that your energy is invested where it makes a real difference. The first step is defining what progress means for you. Progress is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is a small improvement repeated consistently. It might be learning a new skill, improving physical strength, building better habits, or completing important projects. When you define progress clearly, your actions gain direction. You no longer rely on vague intentions. You begin working toward measurable outcomes. Measurable progress requires clarity. Instead of saying you want to improve, specify what improvement looks like. Decide how you will track it. For example, measure time spent learning, tasks completed, or steps taken toward a goal. This clarity transforms abstract ideas into concrete actions. You see results more easily. This visibility builds motivation. It also helps you adjust your approach when needed. Focusing energy also requires prioritization. Many people try to accomplish too many things at once. This divides attention and weakens progress. Choose a few key priorities. Direct your energy toward them. This approach increases effectiveness. You complete meaningful tasks rather than spreading yourself too thin. Another important practice is eliminating low-value activities. Some habits consume energy without offering growth. Excessive distractions, unnecessary commitments, and constant multitasking reduce focus. Identify these patterns and reduce them. This frees energy for important actions. Over time, your productivity improves. Deep work is another powerful method for creating measurable progress. Deep work involves focused attention on one meaningful task. It requires minimizing interruptions. This concentrated effort produces higher quality results. It also accelerates learning. When you engage in deep work regularly, your progress becomes noticeable. Consistency plays a major role in measurable progress. Large bursts of effort followed by long breaks rarely produce lasting results. Instead, aim for steady effort. Small daily actions accumulate over time. This consistent approach builds momentum. It also strengthens discipline. Tracking progress helps maintain motivation. Keep a simple record of your actions. This could be a journal or checklist. Seeing your efforts visually reinforces commitment. It also highlights improvement. Tracking encourages accountability. You become more aware of how you use your energy. Another important aspect is reviewing outcomes. At the end of each day or week, evaluate your progress. Ask yourself whether your actions moved you forward. If not, adjust your approach. This reflection keeps you aligned with your goals. It prevents drifting into unproductive habits. Focusing energy also requires mental discipline. Your mind will naturally seek easier tasks. These tasks may feel comfortable but often produce limited growth. Train yourself to choose meaningful work even when it feels challenging. This discipline strengthens your ability to achieve results. It is also helpful to break large goals into smaller actions. Large goals can feel overwhelming. Breaking them into manageable steps makes progress measurable. Each completed step builds confidence. It also maintains momentum. Protecting your energy is equally important. Physical and mental fatigue reduce productivity. Ensure you rest adequately. Maintain healthy habits. A well-rested mind focuses more effectively. This improves the quality of your work. Measurable progress also benefits from clear boundaries. Limit interruptions during focused work periods. Communicate your priorities. This protects your time and energy. Boundaries create an environment for productivity. Another useful practice is starting with your most important task. Completing meaningful work early in the day ensures progress. It also builds confidence. You begin the day with achievement rather than distraction. Learning from setbacks is also essential. Sometimes progress slows. Instead of becoming discouraged, analyze what happened. Adjust your approach. This learning process strengthens your strategy. Focusing energy also involves patience. Measurable progress often appears gradually. Avoid expecting immediate results. Continue consistent effort. Over time, improvements become visible. It is also helpful to celebrate small wins. Recognizing progress reinforces motivation. It encourages continued effort. Small achievements build confidence. Avoid comparing your progress with others. Everyone follows a different path. Focus on your own growth. Measure improvement against your past performance. This mindset keeps you grounded. Another key factor is clarity of purpose. When you understand why your goal matters, your energy becomes more focused. Purpose provides motivation during difficult moments. Developing focus takes practice. Distractions will appear. Gently return your attention to meaningful tasks. Each time you do this, your focus strengthens. Over time, focusing energy becomes a habit. You automatically choose actions that create progress. Your work becomes more effective. Your results improve steadily. This approach transforms your life. You move from business to productivity. You experience meaningful growth. Your efforts align with your goals. You become more confident in your ability to create change. Continue directing your energy wisely. Prioritize meaningful actions. Track your progress. Adjust your strategy. Maintain consistency. Over time, your efforts compound. You develop discipline and clarity. Focusing energy on measurable progress builds momentum. Each step forward strengthens your mindset. You see the impact of your actions. This reinforces your commitment. Your life begins to reflect purposeful effort. You achieve goals steadily. You overcome distractions. You maintain focus even during challenges. This transformation happens gradually. Each day offers an opportunity to invest your energy wisely. By focusing on actions that produce measurable progress, you create lasting improvement. You develop a mind that values purpose, discipline, and growth. Chapter 9Z. Develop confidence through preparation, repetition, and consistent execution. Confidence is not something that appears before action. It is something that is built through repeated experience of preparation and execution. Many people wait to feel confident before they begin important tasks. They assume confidence is a starting point. In reality, confidence is a result. It is formed when preparation meets repetition and when repetition leads to consistent performance. A strong mind understands that confidence is earned through practice, not imagined into existence. Preparation is the foundation of confidence. When you prepare properly, uncertainty decreases. The mind becomes more stable because it is not guessing what might happen. Instead, it is ready for what is likely to come. Preparation is not about predicting every detail. It is about building readiness. It means studying, practicing, planning, and mentally organizing your actions before they are required. A prepared mind enters situations with calm awareness rather than anxiety. Many people underestimate preparation because it feels invisible. No one praises you for studying quietly or rehearsing in private. Yet this unseen effort determines how you perform when it matters. Without preparation, even simple tasks feel overwhelming. With preparation, difficult tasks become manageable. This difference shapes confidence more than anything else. When you know you have invested effort beforehand, your mind stops doubting your ability as much. Repetition strengthens this foundation. One attempt is not enough to build confidence. Repetition creates familiarity. It reduces fear. It turns uncertainty into recognition. When you repeat an action, your mind begins to understand patterns. What once felt unfamiliar becomes predictable. This predictability creates comfort. Comfort in action leads to confidence in performance. Repetition also builds skill. Each attempt refines your ability. You learn from small adjustments. You improve timing, clarity, and control. Over time, these improvements accumulate. What once required full concentration becomes more natural. This ease is not accidental. It is the result of consistent repetition. The more you repeat meaningful actions, the more your mind trusts your ability to handle them. Execution is where preparation and repetition are tested. Many people prepare and practice but hesitate when it is time to act. Confidence cannot grow without execution. Action is the proof that preparation was real. Each time you execute despite uncertainty, you strengthen belief in yourself. You prove that your preparation has value. This proof builds inner trust. Consistent execution is what transforms temporary effort into lasting confidence. Consistency means showing up repeatedly regardless of mood or comfort. It means acting even when you feel uncertain. It means continuing even after mistakes. Each consistent action reinforces your identity as someone who follows through. This identity becomes the source of confidence. Confidence grows slowly through these cycles. Preparation reduces fear. Repetition builds skill. Execution builds trust. Together they create stability. This stability is what people recognize as confidence. It is not loud or forced. It is steady and grounded. A lack of confidence often comes from avoidance. When you avoid challenges, your mind never learns that you can handle them. Avoidance keeps fear alive. The longer you avoid, the stronger the fear becomes. Preparation and repetition break this cycle. They expose you to controlled experience. They show your mind that you are capable. Execution then confirms it. Another important aspect is learning from each attempt. Confidence grows faster when you reflect on your performance. After each action, take a moment to evaluate what went well and what needs improvement. This reflection turns experience into growth. Without reflection, repetition becomes mechanical. With reflection, repetition becomes development. Preparation also reduces emotional pressure. When you enter a situation unprepared, your mind fills gaps with fear. It imagines worst-case scenarios. When you are prepared, those gaps are filled with knowledge and structure. This reduces emotional instability. You feel more grounded because you have something to rely on. Repetition also builds resilience. The first attempt at anything often feels difficult. The second feels slightly easier. By the 10th attempt, resistance decreases significantly. This reduction in resistance creates momentum. You begin to trust the process instead of fearing it. Confidence grows naturally from this momentum. Execution under imperfect conditions is especially powerful. Real confidence is not built in ideal situations. It is built when you act despite discomfort. When things are not perfect and you still proceed, you strengthen mental toughness. This experience teaches your mind that conditions do not control your ability. You remain capable regardless of circumstances. It is also important to understand that confidence is not about eliminating doubt. Doubt will appear even in skilled individuals. The difference is that confident people act despite doubt. Preparation gives them a foundation. Repetition gives them familiarity. Execution gives them proof. Together, these elements reduce the power of doubt. Another key factor is starting small. Confidence is easier to build when you begin with manageable tasks. Small wins create early evidence of capability. These wins accumulate and strengthen belief. As confidence grows, you can gradually take on larger challenges. This step-by-step approach prevents overwhelm. Consistency is what connects everything. Without consistency, preparation loses impact. Repetition becomes inconsistent. Execution becomes occasional. Confidence requires regular reinforcement. Each day you practice, you strengthen the structure. Each day you skip, you weaken it slightly. Over time, consistency determines whether confidence grows or fades. Confidence also improves decision-making. When you are prepared and practiced, you make decisions with less hesitation. You trust your training. You rely on experience rather than fear. This clarity allows you to act faster and more effectively. Indecision decreases as confidence increases. Another important insight is that confidence is transferable. When you build it in one area through preparation and repetition, it often influences other areas of life. The mindset of preparation becomes a habit. The discipline of repetition becomes natural. The habit of execution becomes automatic. This creates overall personal strength. Confidence also affects how you handle setbacks. A prepared and practiced mind does not collapse after mistakes. It understands that errors are part of learning. Instead of losing confidence, it uses mistakes as feedback. This perspective maintains stability even during difficulty. To build confidence effectively, create a cycle of preparation, repetition, and execution in your daily life. Prepare before important tasks. Repeat essential skills regularly. Execute even when conditions are not perfect. Reflect on results and adjust. This cycle builds steady improvement. Over time, you will notice changes in how you approach challenges. Tasks that once felt intimidating will feel familiar. Situations that once caused hesitation will feel manageable. Your mind will begin to trust your ability more deeply. This trust is the core of confidence. Confidence is not a sudden transformation. It is a gradual accumulation of evidence. Every moment of preparation adds structure. Every repetition builds familiarity. Every execution builds trust. Together they create a strong foundation. Continue practicing this cycle with patience. Do not rush the process. Let confidence grow naturally through experience. Stay committed to preparation. Stay consistent with repetition. Stay brave in execution. Over time, you will develop a steady and reliable sense of confidence that supports every area of your life. Chapter 100: Strengthen patience while working toward long-term success. Patience is one of the most misunderstood strengths in personal development. Many people want progress quickly, and when results do not appear in a short time, they begin to doubt their path. They change direction too often, abandon valuable efforts too early, or become frustrated with slow growth. Yet long-term success rarely responds to urgency. It responds to consistency over time. Strengthening patience is about learning how to stay committed when results are not immediate and trusting the process even when progress feels invisible. A patient mind understands that meaningful outcomes require development. Skills take time to form. Habits take time to stabilize. Results take time to compound. Nothing valuable grows instantly. When you accept this truth, your relationship with time changes. Instead of fighting the delay between effort and reward, you begin to respect it. You see time as part of the process, not an obstacle. This shift reduces frustration and builds emotional stability. Impatience often comes from focusing too much on immediate feedback. People want quick confirmation that their effort is working. When they do not see it, they assume failure. But many forms of growth are slow and subtle. A skill improves gradually. A mindset strengthens quietly. A foundation is built layer by layer. The absence of visible results does not mean progress is not happening. It often means progress is happening beneath the surface. Strengthening patience begins with adjusting expectations. If you expect fast results, you will feel disappointed often. If you expect steady effort over time, you will feel more stable. This does not lower ambition. It aligns ambition with reality. Long-term success is achieved by those who can continue working even when excitement fades. Expectation management is not limitation. It is clarity. Another important aspect of patience is learning to stay consistent during slow periods. There will be times when progress feels flat. Effort continues, but outcomes do not seem to change. These phases test commitment. Many people quit during these moments because they mistake slow progress for no progress. A patient mindset remains steady. It continues acting with discipline, even without immediate reward. One practical way to strengthen patience is to break long-term goals into smaller stages. When a goal feels far away, impatience grows. When it is divided into steps, it becomes manageable. Each completed step creates a sense of progress. This reduces frustration and keeps motivation stable. Small milestones help you see movement, even when the final destination is distant. Another powerful approach is to focus on daily systems rather than final outcomes. Outcomes take time, but systems operate every day. When you commit to a system of action, you remove the pressure of constant results. You simply focus on showing up and completing the process. Over time, systems naturally produce outcomes. This shift keeps your mind grounded in action rather than anxious about results. Patience also requires emotional control. Impatience often arises when emotions become attached to speed. You may feel frustration, comparison, or self-doubt when others appear to progress faster. These emotions distort perception. A patient mind learns to observe these feelings without letting them dictate behavior. You acknowledge the emotion but continue with your plan. This creates inner stability. Long-term success also demands trust in delayed results. Many meaningful achievements take time to become visible. Seeds do not grow overnight. Learning does not become mastery in a day. Relationships do not deepen instantly. Trusting delay means continuing effort even when reward is not yet visible. This trust is built through experience. Each time you continue and later see results, your patience strengthens. Another important practice is reducing comparison. Comparing your timeline to others creates unnecessary pressure. Every path develops differently. Some people may show early progress, while others develop slowly but more deeply. Comparison interrupts patience because it creates unrealistic expectations. Focusing on your own journey helps you remain steady and committed. Patience is also strengthened by understanding the value of repetition. Repeated effort may feel slow, but it is the foundation of mastery. Each repetition reinforces learning. Each attempt builds familiarity. Over time, repetition produces results that sudden effort cannot achieve. Recognizing this helps you stay committed to the process. There is also strength in accepting discomfort during growth. Long-term success often requires working through periods of uncertainty and slow feedback. This discomfort is not a sign of failure. It is a natural part of development. A patient mindset accepts discomfort as temporary and necessary. It does not interpret it as a reason to stop. Reflection also plays a role in building patience. When you take time to look back at your progress, even small improvements become visible. This perspective reinforces that your effort is working. Reflection prevents discouragement and strengthens commitment. It helps you see that growth is happening even when it feels slow. Another key element is learning to delay gratification. Modern environments often encourage instant results, but long-term success requires the ability to wait. When you train yourself to focus on long-term rewards instead of immediate comfort, your patience grows stronger. You begin to value progress over quick satisfaction. Patience also involves managing expectations during setbacks. Challenges will appear. Progress will slow. Plans will change. A patient mind does not interpret setbacks as permanent failure. It sees them as temporary adjustments. This mindset prevents emotional collapse and keeps you moving forward. It is also helpful to remind yourself that time is always moving forward regardless of impatience. Whether you are frustrated or calm, time continues. The difference lies in what you build during that time. Patience ensures that time is used effectively instead of wasted in frustration. This perspective reduces anxiety and encourages steady action. Another important practice is focusing on effort rather than outcome. Effort is within your control. Outcome is influenced by many factors. When you focus on effort, you maintain consistency. This reduces pressure and builds long-term discipline. Over time, consistent effort naturally produces results. Patience also strengthens resilience. When you learn to stay steady during slow progress, you become less likely to give up under pressure. You develop the ability to continue even when motivation fades. This resilience becomes a major advantage in long-term success. As patience develops, your mindset begins to shift. You stop rushing processes. You stop forcing results. You begin to trust gradual improvement. This trust creates calmness. You become more focused and less reactive. Your decisions improve because they are not driven by urgency. Patience also improves clarity. When you are not rushing, you can think more clearly. You make better decisions. You evaluate situations more accurately. This clarity leads to better long-term outcomes. Over time, patience becomes part of your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who can endure long processes. You trust your ability to stay consistent. This identity reinforces your actions and strengthens your discipline. Strengthening patience is not about waiting passively. It is about active endurance. It is about continuing effort with trust in the process. It is about staying committed when results are delayed. It is about maintaining direction even when progress feels slow. Long-term success is built by those who understand this principle. They continue working when others quit. They stay steady when others become impatient. They trust the process when others lose faith. This consistency creates lasting results. Develop patience through daily practice. Focus on small, consistent actions. Accept slow progress. Reflect on improvements. Manage expectations. Continue working even when results are not immediate. Over time, patience becomes a powerful strength. This strength allows you to move through challenges with stability. It keeps you committed to your goals. It protects your focus during difficult periods. It ensures that your effort compounds over time. Patience is not weakness, it is controlled strength. It is the ability to stay steady while waiting for results to unfold. It is one of the most important qualities for long-term success. When you strengthen patience, you strengthen your entire path forward. Chapter 11. Set clear goals and review them every morning. Clear goals give direction to your mind. Without them, even strong effort becomes scattered. Many people stay busy throughout the day, but still feel like they are not moving forward. This happens when actions are not connected to a clear target. Energy is spent, but progress is unclear. A winning mind avoids this confusion by setting specific goals and reviewing them every morning. This simple practice brings structure to thought and purpose to action. When goals are unclear, the mind drifts. It reacts to whatever appears first. Messages, distractions, and small tasks take priority over meaningful progress. The day becomes reactive instead of intentional. Over time, this creates frustration. You may work hard, but without direction, results remain limited. Clear goals solve this problem by giving your mind a reference point. They tell you what matters most before the world starts demanding your attention. Setting clear goals begins with honesty. You must understand what you actually want to achieve, not vague desires but real outcomes. Something measurable, something meaningful, something that can guide your behavior. A clear goal is not just a hope. It is a defined destination. When you define it properly, your mind begins to organize itself around it. Decisions become easier. Focus becomes sharper. Distractions become less powerful. Morning review is what brings these goals to life. Each morning is a new starting point. The mind is fresh, but also vulnerable. Without direction, it can easily be pulled into unimportant activities. Reviewing your goals every morning resets your focus. It reminds you of what matters. It reconnects your attention to long-term priorities instead of short-term noise. This morning review does not need to be complicated. It is a moment of clarity before the day begins. You look at your goals and allow them to settle into your mind. This repetition strengthens awareness. What you see repeatedly becomes more important to you. When you review your goals daily, they become part of your thinking pattern. You stop forgetting what matters. You stop drifting away from your purpose. Many people rely on memory alone to guide their goals. This is unreliable. The mind is filled with constant input. Without reinforcement, important intentions fade into the background. Daily review prevents this loss. It keeps your goals active in your awareness. It ensures that your actions align with your intentions more consistently. Clear goals also reduce decision fatigue. When you know what you are working toward, you do not waste time deciding what to do next. Your choices become simpler. You ask whether an action moves you closer to your goal or not. If it does, you proceed. If it does not, you avoid it. This clarity saves energy and improves focus. Morning review also strengthens discipline. Each time you revisit your goals, you reinforce commitment. You remind yourself of the direction you have chosen. This repetition builds mental consistency. Even when motivation is low, your goals remain present. They guide your behavior even when emotions fluctuate. Another benefit of setting clear goals is improved motivation. When your mind understands what it is working toward, effort feels more meaningful. Without goals, work can feel random and tiring. With goals, effort becomes purposeful. Even small actions feel valuable because they contribute to something larger. This sense of meaning sustains motivation over time. It is important to keep goals simple and focused. Too many goals create confusion. The mind struggles to prioritize and becomes overwhelmed. A small number of meaningful goals is more effective than a long list of scattered intentions. Simplicity brings clarity. Clarity brings action. Morning review also helps you adjust your focus. Life changes constantly. New challenges appear. Priorities shift. By reviewing your goals daily, you stay aware of your direction. You can make small adjustments when needed without losing sight of the bigger picture. This flexibility keeps your progress aligned and realistic. Another key aspect is emotional alignment. When you regularly review your goals, they become emotionally familiar. You begin to connect with them more deeply. They stop being abstract ideas and become personal commitments. This emotional connection increases consistency. You are more likely to act when your goals feel meaningful. Clear goals also improve time management. When you know what matters most, you naturally organize your day around it. You begin to prioritize tasks that support your direction. Less important activities lose influence. This leads to more effective use of time. Morning review also builds self-awareness. As you revisit your goals daily, you begin to notice patterns in your behavior. You see where you are consistent and where you struggle. This awareness helps you improve. You begin to understand what supports your progress and what slows it down. Another important practice is visualizing your goals during the morning review. This is not imagination without purpose. It is mental reinforcement. You picture the outcome clearly. This strengthens focus and prepares your mind for action. It creates alignment between thought and behavior. Clear goals also reduce anxiety. Uncertainty creates stress. When you do not know where you are going, every task feels urgent and confusing. Clear goals remove this uncertainty. They give structure to your day. This structure creates calmness and confidence. It is also important to write your goals down. Written goals are more powerful than mental ones. Writing transforms thoughts into commitment. It makes them visible and concrete. When you review written goals every morning, the impact becomes stronger. You are not just remembering them. You are engaging with them directly. Consistency in morning review is essential. Missing occasional days weakens the habit. Regular practice strengthens it. Over time, this habit becomes automatic. You begin each day with clarity instead of confusion. Clear goals also help you measure progress. Without goals, improvement is difficult to track. With goals, you can see how far you have come. This visibility builds motivation and reinforces discipline. Another benefit is improved confidence. When you consistently move toward clear goals, you develop trust in your direction. You see evidence of progress. This builds belief in your ability to achieve what you set out to do. Morning review also helps you start the day with intention. Instead of reacting to external demands, you begin with internal direction. This shift changes how you experience the entire day. You feel more in control and less overwhelmed. Over time, this practice reshapes your mindset. You become more focused. You become more disciplined. You become more intentional. Your actions align more closely with your goals. This alignment creates steady progress. Clear goals and daily review are simple practices, but their impact is deep. They bring order to your thinking. They guide your actions. They strengthen your discipline. They improve your results. The key is consistency. Set clear goals. Write them down. Review them every morning. Stay connected to your direction. Adjust when needed. Act with purpose. When you practice this daily, your mind becomes more organized. Your behavior becomes more focused. Your progress becomes more visible. You begin to move through life with clarity instead of confusion. This is how a winning mind operates. It knows where it is going. It remembers that direction every day. It acts with intention. It avoids distraction. It stays aligned with purpose. By setting clear goals and reviewing them every morning, you create a foundation for consistent growth. You give your mind structure. You give your actions meaning. You give your life direction. Chapter 12 is improved decision-making through reflection and an honest evaluation. Better decision-making is not created in the moment of choice alone. It is shaped by what you learn after each choice has already been made. Many people repeat the same mistakes not because they lack intelligence, but because they rarely stop to reflect on their actions. They move quickly from one situation to the next without examining what actually happened. Honest evaluation changes this pattern. It slows the mind just enough to extract meaning from experience. Over time, this practice sharpens judgment and strengthens awareness. Reflection is the process of looking back with clarity instead of emotion. When something goes well, Reflection helps you understand why it worked. When something goes poorly, it helps you understand what went wrong. Without reflection, experience remains raw and unprocessed. You go through life accumulating events, but not necessarily gaining wisdom. With reflection, each experience becomes a lesson that improves your next decision. Honest evaluation requires courage. It is easy to justify actions or blame circumstances. It is harder to look directly at your own role in outcomes. Yet this honesty is where improvement begins. When you remove excuses and observe your decisions clearly, patterns begin to appear. You start noticing habits in your thinking. You see where impulsive choices lead to problems. You recognize where careful thinking leads to better outcomes. This awareness becomes the foundation of better judgment. Many poor decisions come from reacting too quickly. The mind often seeks immediate relief or immediate gain. In that state, long-term consequences are overlooked. Reflection helps balance this tendency. When you regularly evaluate past decisions, your mind begins to slow down in future situations. You become more aware of consequences before acting. This reduces impulsive behavior and increases thoughtful decision-making. A powerful way to practice reflection is to review your day at a quiet moment. You do not need a complex system. Simply think back through your actions. Consider what decisions you made and what outcomes followed. Ask yourself whether those decisions aligned with your goals and values. This simple review creates clarity. It helps you understand the connection between action and result. Honest evaluation also involves identifying emotional influence. Many decisions are shaped by emotion more than logic. Stress, frustration, excitement, or fear can distort judgment. When you reflect, you can see where emotion influenced your choices. This awareness helps you respond differently next time. You begin to separate emotional reaction from thoughtful action. Another important part of reflection is recognizing missed opportunities for better decisions. Sometimes the issue is not wrong action but lack of action. You may have avoided a necessary decision or delayed something important. Reflection helps you see these gaps. This awareness encourages more timely and decisive behavior in the future. Improving decision-making also requires accepting responsibility for outcomes. When decisions lead to undesired results, it is tempting to shift blame. However, blame prevents learning. Responsibility opens the door to improvement. When you accept your role in outcomes, you gain the ability to change them. This mindset transforms mistakes into valuable feedback. Reflection should not be used to create self-criticism. The purpose is improvement, not punishment. Harsh judgment weakens motivation and creates resistance. Honest evaluation is calm and constructive. It focuses on learning rather than blame. This balanced approach keeps the mind open to growth. Another key element is identifying repeated patterns. One decision may not reveal much, but repeated behaviors do. Reflection helps you notice these patterns. You may discover that certain situations consistently lead to poor choices, or that certain habits consistently support good decisions. Recognizing these patterns allows you to adjust your approach more effectively. Better decision-making also improves when you slow down your thinking process. Reflection trains your mind to pause before reacting. Over time, this habit carries into real situations. Instead of rushing, you begin to consider options more carefully. This pause often leads to better outcomes. Writing can strengthen reflection. When thoughts are written down, they become clearer. You can see your reasoning more objectively. Writing also helps organize insights. It turns vague impressions into structured understanding. This clarity improves your ability to apply lessons in future decisions. Another benefit of reflection is increased self-awareness. As you evaluate your decisions, you begin to understand your thinking style. You learn how you respond under pressure. You see how you handle uncertainty. This awareness allows you to prepare better for similar situations in the future. Honest evaluation also builds emotional maturity. Instead of reacting defensively to outcomes, you begin to respond with curiosity. You become interested in understanding rather than defending. This shift reduces emotional volatility and improves stability in decision-making. It is also important to review both successful and unsuccessful decisions. Success contains valuable insights. It shows what worked and why. Failure also contains lessons. It shows what needs improvement. Both types of reflection contribute to better future decisions. Over time, reflection strengthens confidence in your judgment. When you consistently evaluate your decisions and learn from them, you develop trust in your ability to improve. You stop fearing mistakes because you know you can learn from them. This confidence leads to more decisive action. Another important practice is comparing intention with outcome. Ask yourself what you intended when making a decision and what actually happened. The difference between intention and outcome reveals important insights. It shows where assumptions may have been incorrect or where execution needs improvement. Reflection also helps you refine your values. When you evaluate decisions honestly, you begin to see what truly matters to you. You notice which choices align with your values and which do not. This clarity strengthens future decision-making because your actions become more aligned with your priorities. Better decisions come from better awareness. Reflection increases awareness of both internal and external factors. You become more conscious of your thoughts, emotions, and environment. This awareness allows you to respond more effectively in future situations. Another important aspect is consistency. Occasional reflection provides limited benefit. Regular reflection creates lasting improvement. When you evaluate your decisions daily or frequently, your thinking becomes sharper over time. Improvement becomes continuous rather than occasional. Reflection also helps reduce regret. When you take time to understand your decisions, you gain clarity. Even mistakes become meaningful because you learn from them. This reduces emotional attachment to past errors and helps you move forward with confidence. As your decision-making improves, you begin to notice changes in your life. You make fewer impulsive choices. You handle challenges with greater clarity. You feel more in control of your direction. These improvements come from accumulated awareness built through reflection. It is important to remain patient with this process. Improving decision-making is gradual. Each reflection builds understanding. Each insight strengthens your judgment. Over time, these small improvements compound into significant growth. Ultimately, reflection and honest evaluation transform experience into wisdom. Without them, life becomes a series of repeated patterns. With them, life becomes a continuous learning process. You begin to see every decision as an opportunity to improve. When you commit to reflecting regularly, your mind becomes more thoughtful. Your choices become more intentional. Your understanding deepens. You develop the ability to make decisions with greater clarity and confidence. This practice shapes a stronger mindset. It reduces impulsivity. It increases awareness. It builds emotional balance. Most importantly, it improves your ability to navigate life effectively. By improving decision-making through reflection and honest evaluation, you create a foundation for long-term success. You learn from every experience. You grow with every decision. You become more capable with every reflection. Chapter 13: Eliminate distractions and protect your daily focus. A focused mind is not created by chance. It is protected through deliberate effort. Every day your attention is pulled in many directions. Notifications appear, conversations interrupt, thoughts drift, and small temptations compete for your time. If you do not actively protect your focus, your energy will be scattered without you realizing it. Distraction does not always feel destructive in the moment. It often feels harmless. But over time it weakens productivity, reduces clarity, and creates a sense of constant unfinished work. Eliminating distractions is not about restriction. It is about protecting your ability to think deeply and act meaningfully. Focus is a limited resource. When it is divided too often, the quality of your work declines. You may spend hours being busy but achieve very little that truly matters. This happens because attention has been fragmented. Each shift in focus requires mental effort to reset. When this happens repeatedly, your mind becomes tired without producing real progress. Protecting focus means reducing unnecessary shifts so your energy can remain steady on important tasks. Distractions often begin with small choices. Checking a message during work, opening a new tab without purpose, or reacting to every notification may seem insignificant. However, each interruption pulls your mind away from depth. It takes time to return to full concentration. Over the course of a day, these small interruptions accumulate and significantly reduce effectiveness. Recognizing this pattern is the first step toward change. Eliminating distractions requires awareness of your environment. Your surroundings influence your behavior more than you realize. A cluttered space often leads to a cluttered mind. Constant noise leads to divided attention. When your environment is designed for interruption, focus becomes difficult. Creating a clean and simple workspace helps your mind settle. When there is less visual and mental noise, concentration becomes easier. Another major source of distraction is digital input. Constant access to information creates a habit of checking rather than thinking. Each time you switch attention to a device, you break your flow. Over time, this becomes automatic. To protect focus, it is necessary to set boundaries with technology. This may include limiting usage during work periods, turning off unnecessary alerts, or designating specific times for communication. These actions reduce constant interruption and allow deeper concentration. Focus also depends on clarity of intention. When you do not clearly know what you are working on, distractions become more powerful. A clear goal gives your mind direction. It reduces the temptation to shift toward less important activities. Before starting your day or task, define what needs to be accomplished. This clarity acts as a filter. It helps you recognize what is relevant and what is not. Mental distractions are just as important as external ones. Thoughts about unrelated tasks, worries, or unfinished responsibilities can pull your attention away from the present moment. When these thoughts appear, they often create urgency that feels real but is not helpful in the current moment. Training your mind to acknowledge these thoughts without acting on them immediately helps maintain focus. You can note them mentally and return to your task. Another effective method for protecting focus is working in structured time blocks. Instead of allowing work to stretch without direction, set specific periods for deep concentration. During these periods, commit fully to one task. Avoid switching between activities. This structure trains your mind to stay engaged for longer periods. Over time, your ability to concentrate improves. It is also important to reduce multitasking. While it may feel productive, multitasking divides attention and reduces efficiency. The mind performs best when it focuses on one task at a time. Completing one task fully before moving to the next leads to higher quality results and less mental fatigue. Protecting focus also involves managing social interruptions. Conversations, messages, and external requests can break concentration if not handled carefully. Setting boundaries around availability helps maintain control over your attention. It is not about avoiding people. It is about choosing the right time for interaction so that it does not interfere with important work. Energy levels also influence focus. When you are tired or mentally drained, distractions become more appealing. Rest, sleep, and physical well-being all support concentration. A well-rested mind is less likely to wander. Maintaining your physical health indirectly strengthens your ability to focus. Another important practice is starting your day with intention. The first moments of the day often shape your mental direction. If you begin with distractions, your mind becomes scattered. If you begin with clarity and focus, that pattern tends to continue. Starting the day with a clear task helps set the tone for productivity. Eliminating distractions also requires discipline in choosing what to say yes to. Every unnecessary commitment reduces available focus for meaningful work. Learning to decline low-value activities protects your time and energy. This allows you to invest more deeply in what truly matters. Over time, focus becomes a habit. When you consistently avoid distractions and return your attention to meaningful tasks, your mind adapts. It becomes easier to concentrate. The urge to switch attention decreases. This transformation does not happen instantly, but it develops through repeated practice. Another key aspect is awareness of triggers. Certain situations or habits may lead you toward distraction. Recognizing these triggers helps you respond more consciously. Instead of reacting automatically, you can choose a different action. This awareness is a powerful tool for maintaining control over your attention. It is also helpful to set clear boundaries for rest and work. Focus does not mean constant effort without pause. Proper rest improves concentration. The key is to separate focused work time from rest time clearly. During work, remain fully engaged. During rest, allow yourself to relax without guilt. This balance supports long-term focus. A focused mind also benefits from simplicity. When your goals, tasks, and environment are overly complex, distraction becomes more likely. Simplicity reduces decision fatigue. It makes it easier to stay on track. The fewer unnecessary choices you face, the easier it is to maintain focus. Protecting daily focus also strengthens self-control. Each time you resist distraction, you reinforce discipline. This discipline extends beyond work and influences other areas of life. It builds mental strength and improves your ability to stay committed to long-term goals. As you practice eliminating distractions, you will notice improvements in clarity. Your thinking becomes sharper. Your work becomes more efficient. You feel less mentally scattered. This sense of control increases confidence and reduces stress. Focus is not about perfection. Distractions will still appear. The difference is in how quickly you return to your task. Each time you notice distraction and refocus, you strengthen your attention. This process is part of training the mind. Over time, protecting focus becomes a natural behavior. You become more aware of how you spend your time. You become more intentional with your actions. You begin to value deep work over constant activity. Eliminating distractions is ultimately about respect for your goals and your time. When you protect your focus, you protect your potential. You give yourself the opportunity to produce meaningful work and real progress. A focused life is not built by accident. It is built by choice. Every decision to reduce distraction strengthens your direction. Every moment of sustained attention builds your capacity. With consistent practice, your mind becomes more stable, more productive, and more aligned with what truly matters. Chapter 1 say adopt growth mindset by learning from every failure. Failure is often misunderstood as a sign of limitation. Many people treat it as proof that they are not capable, not ready, or not suited for success. This interpretation creates fear, and fear leads to avoidance. When failure is avoided, growth is also avoided. A growth mindset changes this entire relationship. It treats failure not as an endpoint, but as information. It becomes a source of learning rather than a source of shame. When you learn from every failure, you begin to develop a stronger and more adaptive mind. A fixed mindset assumes that abilities are static. It believes that talent alone determines success and that mistakes reveal permanent weakness. This belief creates pressure to always perform perfectly. When perfection becomes the expectation, even small setbacks feel damaging. People with this mindset often hide mistakes or avoid challenges altogether. In contrast, a growth mindset understands that ability develops through effort, repetition, and learning. It accepts that mistakes are part of the process, not evidence of failure as a person. Learning from failure begins with changing how you interpret outcomes. When something goes wrong, the immediate reaction is often emotional. There may be disappointment, frustration, or self-criticism. These emotions are natural, but they should not become the final interpretation. Instead of concluding that you are not good enough, you shift the question to what can be learned. This shift changes the purpose of failure from judgment to education. Every failure contains specific information. It shows what did not work, what needs adjustment, or what was misunderstood. When you approach failure with curiosity, you begin to extract this information. You analyze the situation calmly and observe the sequence of decisions that led to the outcome. This process transforms confusion into clarity. It turns an unwanted result into a useful lesson. One of the most important steps in adopting a growth mindset is separating identity from performance. A mistake in action does not define your value as a person. It only describes one moment in time under specific conditions. When you attach identity to failure, you limit your willingness to try again. When you separate identity from outcome, you gain freedom to improve. You can fail without losing confidence in your ability to grow. Another essential practice is reflection after failure. Instead of quickly moving on or avoiding the experience, take time to understand it. Ask what factors influenced the outcome. Consider what decisions could have been different. Look at both internal factors such as preparation and external factors such as timing or environment. This balanced reflection helps you see failure clearly rather than emotionally. A growth mindset also requires responsibility. It does not blame external circumstances for every setback. While external factors do exist, personal responsibility ensures that you always identify at least one area for improvement. This approach gives you control. When you identify what you can change, you regain power over future outcomes. This sense of control is essential for long-term growth. Failure often reveals gaps in preparation. When something does not work, it usually indicates missing knowledge or insufficient practice. Instead of avoiding this realization, a growth mindset embraces it. It treats the gap as an opportunity to learn and strengthen skills. This attitude turns weakness into direction. You know exactly where to focus your improvement efforts. Another key element is persistence after failure. Many people stop trying after a setback because they associate failure with finality. A growth mindset sees failure as temporary feedback. It continues effort with adjustment. This persistence allows progress to continue even after mistakes. Each attempt becomes better informed than the last. It is also important to normalize failure as part of the learning process. Every skill, achievement, and success story includes multiple failures behind it. When you understand that failure is universal, it loses its emotional weight. It becomes expected rather than feared. This perspective reduces anxiety and increases willingness to take action. Learning from failure also improves decision-making. When you analyze past mistakes, you become more aware of patterns. You begin to recognize situations that require caution or preparation. This awareness helps you make better choices in the future. Each failure becomes a guide for improved judgment. Another important aspect is emotional resilience. Failure can feel discouraging, but a growth mindset builds the ability to recover quickly. Instead of staying stuck in disappointment, you process the experience and move forward. This emotional recovery strengthens your overall stability. You become less affected by setbacks and more focused on improvement. A growth mindset also encourages experimentation. When failure is not seen as negative, you become more willing to try new approaches. You explore different methods without fear of judgment. This experimentation increases learning speed. It allows you to discover better strategies through experience rather than assumption. It is also helpful to reframe failure as progress in disguise. Every unsuccessful attempt eliminates one path and brings you closer to a better solution. Even when results are not immediate, you are still gaining valuable insight. This perspective keeps motivation alive during difficult phases. Another important practice is reviewing both small and large failures. Not all mistakes are dramatic. Some are subtle errors in thinking or execution. By paying attention to small failures, you can correct issues early before they grow into larger problems. This attention to detail strengthens overall performance. A growth mindset also values feedback. External feedback from others can highlight blind spots that are difficult to see alone. Instead of resisting feedback, it is used as a tool for improvement. When combined with self-reflection, feedback accelerates growth significantly. Over time, adopting a growth mindset changes your relationship with effort. You begin to see effort as meaningful regardless of outcome. Even unsuccessful attempts contribute to development. This reduces fear of trying and increases willingness to engage with challenges. Failure also builds humility. It reminds you that learning is continuous and that improvement is always possible. This humility keeps your mind open. An open mind absorbs new information more effectively and adapts more easily to change. A growth mindset also strengthens confidence in the long term. Although failure may temporarily reduce confidence, learning from it builds deeper confidence over time. This confidence is not based on perfection, but on experience. It is grounded in the knowledge that you can adapt and improve. Another important shift is focusing on progress rather than perfection. Perfection creates pressure and fear of failure. Progress encourages continuous improvement. When you measure success by growth rather than flawless outcomes, you become more resilient. Failure also teaches patience. Improvement does not happen instantly. Learning from mistakes requires time and repetition. A growth mindset accepts this timeline. It continues working steadily without expecting immediate perfection. As you practice learning from failure, your mindset gradually transforms. Challenges become opportunities, mistakes become lessons, setbacks become guidance. This shift changes how you approach life. You become more willing to engage, more open to learning, and more capable of adapting. Ultimately, adopting a growth mindset means understanding that every experience contributes to development. Nothing is wasted when you learn from it. Each failure adds depth to your understanding and strength to your character. By consistently learning from failure, you build resilience, clarity, and confidence. You develop the ability to face challenges without fear of collapse. You continue growing even when outcomes are imperfect. Over time, this mindset becomes a foundation for long-term success and continuous self-improvement. Chapter 15. Push beyond comfort to expand mental strength daily. Comfort feels safe, but it often becomes a hidden limit. When you stay only within what feels easy, your mind does not develop the strength needed for real growth. Life rewards those who are willing to step slightly beyond comfort every day, not in extreme or harmful ways, but in consistent, intentional steps that stretch ability and expand mental strength. A strong mind is not built in moments of ease. It is built in moments of challenge, repetition, and controlled discomfort. Most people naturally avoid discomfort. The mind is designed to seek safety and efficiency. It prefers familiar routines, predictable outcomes, and low-effort choices. While this helps reduce stress in daily life, it also creates stagnation when overused. If you always choose what feels comfortable, your growth slows down. You may remain stable, but you will not expand. Mental strength requires exposure to situations that demand effort beyond what feels easy. Pushing beyond comfort does not mean living in constant pressure. It means choosing growth slightly above familiarity. It means doing things that challenge your current ability just enough to create adaptation. Every time you do something slightly difficult, your mind adjusts, it learns, it strengthens. This gradual process is what builds long-term resilience. One of the most important parts of expanding mental strength is recognizing the difference between discomfort and harm. Discomfort is a sign of growth. It appears when you are learning, stretching, or developing a new skill. Harm is different. Harm is unsustainable stress or situations that damage well-being. Growth comes from embracing discomfort while respecting limits. This balance allows progress without burnout. Daily expansion of mental strength comes from small choices. Choosing to complete a difficult task instead of delaying it. Choosing to continue working when motivation is low. Choosing to learn something unfamiliar instead of staying with what is already known. These small decisions accumulate. Over time, they reshape your tolerance for challenge. What once felt difficult becomes manageable. Avoiding discomfort creates dependency on ease. The more you avoid challenge, the more sensitive you become to it. Simple tasks begin to feel harder than they are. Confidence decreases because experience with difficulty is limited. Pushing beyond comfort reverses this process. Each challenge completed builds evidence that you are capable. This evidence strengthens belief in yourself. Mental strength grows through repetition of difficulty. The first time you face a challenge, it may feel overwhelming. The second time, it feels slightly more familiar. By the 10th time, resistance decreases. This repetition teaches your mind that discomfort is not dangerous. It is simply part of growth. This understanding reduces fear and increases willingness to act. Another important aspect is willingness to start before you feel ready. Waiting for perfect readiness often keeps you stuck in comfort. Growth begins when action happens before full confidence is present. This creates learning through experience. As you engage with challenges, readiness develops naturally. You do not wait for strength to appear. You build it through action. Pushing beyond comfort also strengthens discipline. Discipline is not about forcing yourself constantly. It is about choosing long-term growth over short-term ease. Each time you choose a difficult but meaningful action, you reinforce discipline. This reinforcement makes future challenges easier to face. There will be resistance when stepping outside comfort. The mind will suggest delay, avoidance, or easier alternatives. This resistance is natural. It is not a sign to stop. It is a sign that growth is happening. Learning to move forward despite resistance is what builds mental toughness. Another key element is expanding tolerance for uncertainty. Comfort often comes from predictability. Growth often comes from uncertainty. When you step into unfamiliar situations, you may not know the outcome. This uncertainty can feel uncomfortable, but it strengthens adaptability. The more you face unknown situations, the more confident you become in handling them. Mental strength also grows when you intentionally challenge habits. Habits create comfort through repetition. While good habits are important, occasionally stepping outside routine builds flexibility. Trying new approaches, learning new methods, or changing patterns forces the mind to adapt. This adaptability strengthens overall resilience. It is also important to understand that progress feels uncomfortable at first. Improvement often disrupts existing patterns. When you learn something new, your performance may temporarily feel weaker before it improves. This temporary discomfort is part of the learning process. Accepting it prevents discouragement. Another powerful method for expanding mental strength is extending effort slightly beyond what you think is enough. When you feel like stopping, continuing for a little longer builds endurance. This practice trains the mind to push past internal limits. Over time, your capacity increases. Pushing beyond comfort also improves confidence. Each time you successfully complete a difficult task, you build proof of capability. This proof reduces fear of future challenges. Confidence becomes grounded in experience rather than assumption. Mental strength is also influenced by how you respond to setbacks during challenging tasks. When difficulty increases, mistakes may happen. Instead of stopping, continuing through mistakes builds resilience. This persistence teaches that failure within effort is part of progress. Another important aspect is consistency. Occasional effort outside comfort creates temporary growth. Daily effort outside comfort creates transformation. Even small challenges, when repeated consistently, create significant mental expansion over time. It is also helpful to reflect on your progress regularly. When you look back at challenges you have overcome, you realize how much your capacity has grown. This reflection reinforces motivation and encourages continued effort. Pushing beyond comfort also improves emotional control. Challenging situations often trigger stress or doubt. Learning to remain calm during these moments strengthens emotional stability. You become less reactive and more composed under pressure. Another benefit is increased self-trust. When you repeatedly do things that feel difficult and succeed, you begin to trust your ability to handle challenges. This trust reduces hesitation and increases action. Over time, expanding beyond comfort becomes a habit. You begin to naturally look for opportunities to grow. Instead of avoiding difficulty, you recognize it as a path to improvement. This shift transforms your mindset from avoidance to growth orientation. Mental strength does not grow in comfort zones, it grows in the space just beyond them. Each step outside familiarity expands your capacity. Each challenge faced builds resilience. Each moment of persistence strengthens your mindset. This process is gradual but powerful. You do not need extreme action. You need consistent willingness to step slightly beyond what feels easy. Over time, these steps compound into significant transformation. A stronger mind is not one that avoids discomfort. It is one that understands discomfort as part of development. It continues forward even when resistance appears. It grows through experience, repetition, and persistence. By pushing beyond comfort daily, you build a mindset that is resilient, adaptable, and strong. You expand your mental limits gradually and consistently. You become someone capable of handling more than before. This is how true mental strength is developed over time. Chapter 16c, Build self-respect by keeping promises to yourself. Self-respect is not something that is given by others. It is something you build quietly through your own behavior when no one is watching. It is shaped by how seriously you take your own commitments. Every promise you make to yourself becomes a test of character. When you keep that promise, you strengthen trust within yourself. When you break it, even in small ways, you weaken that trust. Over time, your level of self-respect is directly connected to how consistently you honor your own word. Many people focus on keeping promises to others while ignoring promises to themselves. They show up for external responsibilities but neglect personal commitments. They may decide to wake up early, exercise, study, or focus on important goals, but then delay or abandon those decisions when discomfort appears. Each time this happens, internal trust decreases. The mind begins to doubt your own reliability. This creates a silent loss of self-respect that is often unnoticed until motivation disappears. Keeping promises to yourself begins with awareness of what you commit to. Many internal promises are made casually. You decide something in a moment of motivation, but without real intention. Later, when effort is required, the commitment feels optional. To build self-respect, you must treat your internal promises with seriousness. Even small commitments matter because they reflect how you view your own actions. The foundation of self-respect is consistency between intention and behavior. When you say you will do something and you do it, your mind learns that your word has value. This creates internal alignment. You stop negotiating with yourself constantly. You become someone who follows through. This internal alignment builds confidence that is deeper than external validation. Breaking promises to yourself often feels harmless in the moment. You may think skipping one task or delaying one action is not significant. However, the mind records these patterns. Each broken promise reduces internal trust slightly. Over time, repeated inconsistency creates a habit of self-doubt. You begin to question your ability to stay disciplined. This weakens motivation and reduces long-term progress. Self-respect grows when you start making smaller but realistic commitments. Instead of setting overwhelming expectations, choose actions that you can reliably complete. This builds a foundation of success. Each completed promise strengthens internal trust. As confidence grows, you can gradually increase the level of challenge. This step-by-step approach creates sustainable discipline. Another important aspect is immediate action. When you commit to something, delaying it weakens the commitment. Acting soon after deciding reduces resistance. It prevents the mind from creating excuses. The longer you wait, the more likely you are to break the promise. Immediate action reinforces reliability. Self-respect is also strengthened through repetition. One fulfilled promise builds trust, but repeated fulfillment builds identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. This identity becomes powerful. It influences future behavior without constant effort. You act consistently because it aligns with who you believe you are. There will be moments when keeping a promise becomes difficult. Energy may be low. Motivation may fade. External distractions may appear. These moments are important because they test commitment. Choosing to follow through despite discomfort builds deeper self-respect than easy success. It shows that your decisions are not dependent on mood. Another key factor is honesty with yourself. Sometimes people pretend they will do things without real intention. This creates internal confusion. Honest commitment means you only promise what you are willing to act on. When you are truthful with yourself, your internal trust becomes stronger. You reduce unnecessary internal conflict. Self-respect also increases when you stop overcommitting. Saying yes to too many things leads to broken promises. Learning to choose commitments carefully protects your ability to follow through. It is better to commit to fewer actions and complete them fully than to commit to many and fail to deliver. Reflection plays an important role in building self-respect. At the end of the day, reviewing whether you kept your promises helps you become more aware of your behavior. This awareness strengthens discipline. It also highlights patterns that need improvement. Reflection turns experience into learning. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce internal strength. You build evidence that you can trust your own decisions. This trust reduces procrastination. When you believe in your reliability, you act more decisively. Doubt decreases because your past actions support confidence. Self-respect also influences emotional stability. When you consistently follow through on your commitments, you experience less internal conflict. You feel more aligned with your actions. This alignment creates calmness. You are not constantly negotiating with yourself or feeling guilty about unfinished tasks. Another important aspect is starting with simple habits. Building self-respect does not require large achievements at the beginning. Small, consistent actions are enough. Making your bed, completing a short task, or following a simple routine builds momentum. These small wins accumulate into stronger discipline. Over time, keeping promises to yourself improves every area of life. Productivity increases because you trust your ability to act. Confidence increases because you have proof of reliability. Discipline increases because follow-through becomes automatic. Self-respect becomes the foundation of all these improvements. Breaking promises to yourself often leads to internal frustration. You may feel stuck or unmotivated without understanding why. Often, this is the result of repeated inconsistency. The mind does not trust your intentions. Rebuilding this trust requires consistent action over time. Self-respect is also connected to boundaries. Protecting your time and energy ensures that you can fulfill your commitments. If you constantly allow external demands to override your personal goals, it becomes difficult to keep promises to yourself. Setting boundaries helps preserve your focus. Another important practice is forgiving mistakes without repeating them. Everyone fails to keep commitments at times. The key is not to dwell on failure, but to correct it. Self-respect grows when you acknowledge mistakes and adjust behavior without self-punishment. As you continue keeping promises to yourself, you begin to notice a shift in identity. You become someone who is reliable internally. This reliability strengthens your mindset. You stop depending on external motivation because your internal trust becomes the driving force. Self-respect is not built in moments of success alone. It is built in moments of choice. Every time you choose to follow through when it is difficult, you strengthen your character. Every time you honor your word, you build trust within yourself. This process is gradual but powerful. It requires patience and consistency. Each small promise kept adds to your internal strength. Over time, these small actions create a strong foundation of discipline and confidence. When you build self-respect by keeping promises to yourself, you create a stable inner foundation. You become more disciplined, more confident, and more focused. Your actions align with your intentions. Your mindset becomes stronger. You trust yourself more deeply. This is how lasting transformation begins. Not through external validation, but through consistent internal commitment. When you keep your word to yourself, you develop a mind that is steady, reliable, and capable of long-term success. Chapter 17a. Practice gratitude to maintain positive, winning mindset. Gratitude is often seen as a simple emotion, but in reality it is a powerful mental discipline that shapes how you interpret your life. It determines whether you focus on what is missing or what is already present. A winning mindset is not built only on ambition or effort. It is also built on the ability to recognize value in what already exists while continuing to move forward. Practicing gratitude consistently strengthens mental balance, emotional stability, and long-term motivation. Many people fall into the habit of focusing on lack. They think about what they do not have, what they have not achieved, or what is still out of reach. This mindset creates pressure and dissatisfaction. Even when progress is made, it feels insufficient. Over time, this reduces motivation and increases frustration. Gratitude interrupts this cycle. It shifts attention from absence to presence. It trains the mind to recognize progress instead of ignoring it. Gratitude does not mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It means acknowledging reality with balance. You can be aware of challenges while still recognizing positive aspects of your life. This balanced awareness creates mental stability. Instead of being overwhelmed by what is difficult, you become grounded in what is already working. This grounding helps you continue moving forward with clarity. Practicing gratitude begins with awareness of daily experiences. Many positive moments go unnoticed because the mind is focused elsewhere. Simple things like learning progress, supportive relationships, personal effort, or even the ability to continue trying are often overlooked. When you intentionally recognize these elements, your perspective shifts. You begin to see value in small improvements instead of waiting for major results. A winning mindset requires emotional resilience. Gratitude strengthens this resilience by reducing the emotional weight of setbacks. When you regularly acknowledge what is good in your life, challenges feel less overwhelming. You are able to face difficulties without losing motivation completely. This emotional balance allows you to recover faster from disappointment. Gratitude also improves discipline. When you appreciate your current opportunities, you become more responsible with them. You stop taking time and resources for granted. This awareness encourages better use of energy. You become more intentional with your actions because you recognize their value. Another important aspect of gratitude is its effect on focus. A mind that constantly compares itself to others or fixates on what is missing becomes distracted. Gratitude brings attention back to your own path. It reduces unnecessary comparison and helps you concentrate on personal growth. This focus improves productivity and decision-making. Practicing gratitude also strengthens motivation. When you recognize progress, even in small amounts, you create a sense of forward movement. This sense of movement is essential for maintaining effort. Without it, motivation weakens. Gratitude helps you see that progress is happening, even when it feels slow. One effective way to build gratitude is through daily reflection. At the end of the day, take a moment to observe what went well. It does not need to be something large. Even small improvements, completed tasks, or moments of clarity are meaningful. This reflection trains your mind to look for positive aspects instead of only focusing on shortcomings. Gratitude also improves patience. When you appreciate what you already have, you become less anxious about what is not yet achieved. This reduces pressure and allows long-term growth to unfold naturally. You begin to trust the process instead of rushing results. Another benefit of gratitude is improved mental clarity. Negative thinking often creates mental clutter. It fills the mind with frustration, doubt, and dissatisfaction. Gratitude clears this clutter by redirecting attention toward constructive awareness. This clarity helps you think more effectively and make better decisions. A grateful mindset also strengthens relationships. When you appreciate the people around you, you communicate more positively. You become more understanding and less reactive. This improves social connections and creates a supportive environment that contributes to your growth. Gratitude also plays a role in self-perception. When you recognize your own efforts and progress, you develop healthier self-awareness. You stop focusing only on flaws and begin acknowledging improvement. This balanced self-view builds confidence without arrogance. It is important to understand that gratitude is not dependent on external conditions. It is a practice that can be applied even during difficult times. In fact, it becomes most powerful during challenges. When circumstances are not ideal, gratitude helps stabilize the mind and prevent discouragement. Another key practice is starting the day with gratitude. Before engaging with tasks or distractions, take a moment to recognize something positive. This sets a tone of stability and focus for the day. It prepares the mind to approach challenges with balance instead of negativity. Gratitude also reduces stress. When the mind is focused on what is going right, it becomes less reactive to pressure. This does not remove challenges, but it changes how you experience them. Stress becomes more manageable because your perspective is balanced. Over time, gratitude reshapes your thinking patterns. Instead of automatically focusing on problems, your mind begins to notice positive elements naturally. This shift becomes automatic with practice. It creates a long-term positive mindset that supports success. A winning mindset is not built on constant dissatisfaction. It is built on the ability to appreciate progress while still striving for improvement. Gratitude provides this balance. It keeps you grounded while still motivated to grow. Practicing gratitude also helps prevent burnout. When you constantly feel that nothing is enough, exhaustion builds quickly. Gratitude reduces this feeling by helping you recognize achievements along the way. This recognition restores energy and encourages continued effort. Another important aspect is consistency. Gratitude is not a one-time action. It must be practiced regularly to have lasting impact. Daily acknowledgement of positive elements strengthens its effect. Over time, it becomes a natural part of thinking. Gratitude also enhances emotional intelligence. When you are aware of positive aspects in your life, you respond to situations with greater calmness. You become less reactive and more thoughtful in your responses. This emotional stability supports better decision-making. It is also helpful to combine gratitude with reflection on effort. Recognizing not only outcomes, but also the effort you put in creates deeper appreciation. This reinforces discipline and encourages continued action. A grateful mindset also supports long-term vision. When you appreciate your current progress, you feel more confident about future possibilities. This confidence reduces fear of uncertainty and encourages steady growth. As gratitude becomes part of your mindset, you begin to experience a shift in overall outlook. Life feels more balanced, challenges feel more manageable, progress feels more visible. This creates a positive internal environment that supports continuous improvement. Ultimately, gratitude is not about ignoring difficulties. It is about choosing to see both challenges and positives clearly. This balanced perspective creates strength. It allows you to remain motivated without becoming overwhelmed. By practicing gratitude consistently, you develop a stable and positive winning mindset. You train your mind to recognize value in the present while continuing to move toward the future. This combination of appreciation and ambition creates long-lasting mental strength and steady personal growth. Chapter 18. Act decisively instead of waiting for perfect conditions. Many people delay important actions because they are waiting for the perfect moment. They believe conditions need to be ideal before they begin. They wait for more time, more confidence, more resources, or fewer risks. This mindset creates endless delay. The truth is that perfect conditions rarely arrive. Life is always changing, always uncertain, and always incomplete. Acting decisively despite imperfection is what separates progress from stagnation. Decisive action means choosing to move forward with clarity, even when not everything is fully known. It does not require certainty about every outcome. It requires willingness to begin with the information available right now. When you wait for perfect conditions, you give control of your progress to uncertainty. When you act decisively, you take control back. Waiting feels safe in the moment, but it slowly weakens confidence. Each delay reinforces hesitation. The longer you wait, the larger the task appears in your mind. What once felt manageable begins to feel overwhelming. This happens because inaction allows fear to grow. Action reduces fear. Every step forward makes the situation more familiar and less intimidating. Decisive people understand that clarity often comes after action, not before it. When you begin working on something, new information appears. You learn through experience. You adjust your approach based on reality instead of assumption. If you wait for complete clarity before starting, you miss the opportunity to gain real understanding. Action creates clarity. Inaction preserves confusion. One of the biggest obstacles to decisive action is perfectionism. Perfectionism creates the belief that mistakes must be avoided at all costs. It demands flawless performance before anything can be considered acceptable. This mindset prevents progress because it raises the standard for starting beyond what is realistic. Growth does not come from perfection. It comes from engagement, adjustment, and repetition. Acting decisively requires acceptance of imperfection. You begin with what you have. You make the best decision possible with current knowledge. You understand that adjustments will be necessary along the way. This flexibility allows movement instead of stagnation. Progress becomes more important than perfection. Another important aspect is recognizing the cost of delay. Every time you postpone action, opportunity shifts slightly. Skills take longer to develop. Momentum weakens, confidence decreases. The habit of waiting becomes stronger. When you understand that delay has a cost, urgency becomes clearer. This awareness encourages immediate action rather than indefinite planning. Decisive action also builds momentum. The first step is often the hardest. Once you begin, the next steps become easier. Movement creates energy. Energy builds motivation. Motivation supports further action. This cycle continues, making progress more natural over time. Waiting breaks this cycle before it even starts. Many people overestimate the need for preparation. While preparation is important, it can become an excuse for avoidance. Endless planning often replaces real action. There is a point where additional preparation no longer improves results significantly. Decisive individuals recognize this point and move forward. They understand that learning happens through doing, not just thinking. Acting without perfect conditions also builds resilience. When you move forward despite uncertainty, you learn how to adapt. You encounter unexpected challenges and develop the ability to respond effectively. This adaptability strengthens your confidence. You begin to trust your ability to handle situations as they arise. Another important factor is self-trust. Every time you act decisively, you prove to yourself that you can handle uncertainty. This builds internal confidence. Over time, you stop doubting your ability to start. You develop trust in your judgment and capability. This trust reduces hesitation in future decisions. Decisive action also improves problem solving. When you are actively engaged in a situation, you can identify issues more clearly. You see real obstacles instead of imagined ones. This allows more effective solutions. Waiting, on the other hand, often increases fear and distorts perception. It is important to understand that decisiveness does not mean recklessness. It does not mean acting without thought. It means making informed decisions within reasonable time and then taking action without unnecessary delay. There is a balance between reflection and movement. Excess reflection leads to paralysis. Balanced action leads to progress. Another key principle is starting before you feel fully ready. Readiness is often a feeling that never fully arrives. If you wait for complete readiness, you will delay indefinitely. Acting before full readiness allows you to develop readiness through experience. Confidence grows through engagement, not waiting. Decisive action also reduces anxiety. Uncertainty feels heavier when it is avoided. When you face it directly through action, it becomes more manageable. The mind adapts to reality more easily than imagined scenarios. Taking action replaces speculation with experience. Small decisions also matter. You do not need to wait for large opportunities to practice decisiveness. Every small choice is an opportunity to act without delay. Responding quickly to simple tasks builds the habit of decisiveness. Over time, this habit extends to larger decisions. Another important aspect is accepting that mistakes will happen. Decisive action involves risk. Not every decision will lead to perfect results. However, mistakes provide valuable feedback. They guide future decisions and improve judgment. Avoiding action to prevent mistakes actually prevents learning. Over time, acting decisively changes your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who takes action rather than someone who waits. This identity shift is powerful. It influences future behavior automatically. You become more proactive in all areas of life. Decisiveness also strengthens discipline. It trains you to act according to priorities rather than emotions. Even when you feel uncertain or hesitant, you move forward based on intention. This consistency builds mental strength. Another benefit is increased productivity. When you stop waiting for perfect conditions, you complete more tasks. You spend less time overthinking and more time executing. This leads to faster progress and better results. Acting decisively also improves learning speed. Each action provides feedback. Each experience teaches something new. The more you act, the more you learn. Waiting slows this process significantly. It is also helpful to reduce the habit of overthinking. Overthinking creates imaginary problems that do not exist in reality. It delays action unnecessarily. Decisive thinking focuses on what is known and what can be done now. It avoids unnecessary complexity. Another important practice is setting time limits for decisions. When you give yourself too much time, hesitation grows. When you set reasonable limits, you encourage action. This structure helps prevent endless delay. Decisive action also creates confidence in uncertain environments. Life will always contain unpredictability. Those who act despite uncertainty develop stronger mental stability. They do not require perfect conditions to move forward. As you practice acting decisively, you begin to notice a shift. Tasks feel less overwhelming. Decisions feel clearer. Progress becomes more consistent. You develop a sense of control over your direction. Ultimately, waiting for perfect conditions is a form of avoidance. It delays growth and reduces potential. Acting decisively transforms uncertainty into progress. It turns intention into reality. By choosing action over delay, you build momentum, confidence, and resilience. You learn faster, grow stronger, and achieve more. You develop a mindset that values progress over perfection and movement over hesitation. A decisive mind understands that the right time is not later. The right time is when action begins. Chapter 9. Learn continuously to sharpen thinking and improve results. Continuous learning is one of the strongest foundations for long-term success. A person who keeps learning never becomes mentally stagnant. Their thinking stays flexible, sharp, and capable of adapting to new challenges. In a world that is constantly changing, the ability to learn is more valuable than any single skill or achievement. Results improve when thinking improves, and thinking improves through continuous learning applied with intention. Many people stop learning once they reach a certain level of comfort. They rely on past knowledge and repeat familiar patterns. At first this may feel efficient, but over time it limits growth. What worked in the past may not always work in the present. Without learning, thinking becomes outdated. When thinking becomes outdated, results begin to slow down. Continuous learning prevents this decline by keeping the mind active and adaptable. Learning is not limited to formal education. It happens in daily experiences, conversations, reflection, observation, and practice. Every situation contains information that can improve understanding. The key is awareness. When you approach life with a learning mindset, even small experiences become valuable. You begin to notice patterns, understand consequences, and refine your decisions. One of the most important benefits of continuous learning is improved thinking clarity. As you learn more, your ability to analyze situations becomes stronger. You begin to see connections that were not obvious before. Problems become easier to break down. Decisions become more structured. This clarity reduces confusion and increases confidence in your judgment. Continuous learning also improves adaptability. Life rarely stays the same. New challenges appear, environments change, and expectations evolve. A mind that learns continuously can adjust more easily. Instead of resisting change, it understands how to respond to it. This flexibility is essential for long-term success because it allows you to remain effective even in unfamiliar situations. Another important aspect is curiosity. Continuous learning begins with curiosity about how things work and why they happen. Curiosity keeps the mind engaged. It prevents mental rigidity. When you remain curious, you naturally seek improvement. You ask questions instead of assuming answers. This questioning attitude leads to deeper understanding. Learning also strengthens problem-solving ability. Each new piece of knowledge adds another tool to your thinking process. When you face challenges, you draw from a wider range of ideas and experiences. This improves your ability to find solutions. Over time, problems that once felt difficult become manageable because your mental toolkit has expanded. Continuous learning also improves decision-making. Better knowledge leads to better judgment. When you understand more about a situation, you can evaluate options more effectively. This reduces impulsive decisions and increases thoughtful action. Each learning experience contributes to better future choices. Another important benefit is increased confidence. When you know that you are constantly improving your understanding, you feel more capable. This confidence is not based on assumption, but on accumulated knowledge. It grows naturally as your awareness expands. You trust your ability to handle new challenges because you have learned how to approach them. Learning also helps reduce fear of uncertainty. Many fears come from lack of understanding. When something is unfamiliar, it can feel overwhelming. Continuous learning reduces this fear by increasing familiarity. The more you learn, the less unknown situations feel intimidating. You begin to approach challenges with curiosity instead of hesitation. A key part of continuous learning is reflection. Learning is not just about absorbing new information, but also about understanding past experiences. Reflection helps you extract lessons from what you have already done. It turns experience into knowledge. Without reflection, experiences pass without lasting impact. Reading, observing, and practicing are also important methods of learning. Each method contributes differently. Reading expands theoretical understanding. Observation helps you see real-life applications. Practice transforms knowledge into skill. When combined, these methods create strong and lasting learning. Continuous learning also improves creativity. When you expose your mind to new ideas, it begins to form new connections. These connections lead to innovative thinking. You become better at finding unique solutions instead of relying on repetitive patterns. Creativity grows when the mind is continuously fed with new information. Another important aspect is humility. A learning mindset recognizes that there is always more to understand. This prevents overconfidence and encourages openness. When you accept that you do not know everything, you remain willing to grow. This humility is essential for long-term improvement. Learning also strengthens discipline. Setting aside time to learn regularly builds consistency. Whether it is reading, studying, or practicing a skill, continuous effort develops mental structure. This discipline extends into other areas of life, improving overall performance. It is also important to apply what you learn. Learning without application has limited value. Real improvement happens when knowledge is used in real situations. Application reinforces understanding and turns information into ability. Each time you apply something new, your skill level increases. Another benefit of continuous learning is better communication. As your understanding expands, you become more capable of expressing ideas clearly. You understand concepts more deeply and can explain them more effectively. This improves relationships, teamwork, and influence. Learning also helps maintain motivation. When you are constantly growing, progress feels visible. This sense of development keeps you engaged. Stagnation often leads to boredom, but learning creates movement. This movement sustains interest and effort. A continuous learner also becomes more resilient. When challenges arise, they are less likely to feel stuck, because they have encountered similar situations in different forms. Their broader knowledge allows them to adapt and recover more quickly. It is also helpful to approach mistakes as learning opportunities. Instead of seeing errors as setbacks, they are treated as feedback. This mindset transforms failure into progress. Each mistake adds to understanding and improves future performance. Over time, continuous learning reshapes identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who grows constantly. This identity influences behavior. You naturally seek improvement and avoid stagnation. Learning becomes part of who you are rather than something you occasionally do. Another important practice is staying open to new perspectives. Different viewpoints challenge existing thinking and expand understanding. When you are open to learning from others, your knowledge grows faster and more deeply. Continuous learning also improves long-term results. As thinking becomes sharper, actions become more effective. Better decisions lead to better outcomes. Over time, this creates a cycle of improvement where learning leads to action and action leads to better results. It is important to stay consistent with learning even during busy periods. Small daily learning efforts are more powerful than occasional intense efforts. Consistency builds long-term growth. Ultimately, continuous learning is a mindset of growth and adaptability. It keeps your thinking sharp and your actions effective. It allows you to improve constantly instead of becoming stagnant. It strengthens your ability to face challenges, make decisions, and achieve meaningful results. By committing to learn continuously, you develop a mind that evolves with experience. You become more aware, more capable, and more resilient. Your thinking becomes sharper, and your results improve steadily over time. Chapter 20: Commit daily to becoming stronger, wiser, and disciplined. Daily commitment is the foundation of real transformation. Strength, wisdom, and discipline are not built in sudden moments of inspiration. They are built through repeated choices made every single day. A single day may feel small on its own, but when days are linked together through consistent intention, they create identity. The person you become is shaped by what you commit to daily, not occasionally. Many people want change, but they treat it as something distant or future-based. They imagine a version of themselves who is stronger, wiser, and more disciplined, but they do not act as that version in the present. This gap between desire and daily behavior is where stagnation begins. Real change happens when daily actions start reflecting the identity you want to build. Every day becomes a chance to align with that identity. Strength is not only physical, It is mental endurance, emotional stability, and the ability to stay consistent when conditions are difficult. Daily commitment builds this strength through repetition. Each time you choose effort over ease, you reinforce resilience. Each time you continue despite discomfort, you expand your capacity. Strength grows quietly through small repeated actions that often go unnoticed in the moment, but become powerful over time. Wisdom develops through observation, reflection, and experience. A person who commits daily to learning from life becomes wiser with time. Wisdom is not only about knowing more, it is about understanding patterns, consequences, and human behavior more clearly. Daily commitment to reflection allows you to extract meaning from your experiences. Even simple moments become lessons when you pay attention. Over time, this awareness deepens your judgment and improves your decisions. Discipline is built through consistency, not intensity. Many people try to change everything at once and rely on motivation to carry them forward. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is stable. When you commit daily, even in small ways, you train your mind to follow structure rather than emotion. This creates reliability within yourself. You stop depending on how you feel and start acting based on what you have decided. Each day presents opportunities to strengthen discipline. Waking up at a planned time, completing important tasks before distractions, following routines, and resisting unnecessary impulses are all simple but powerful actions. These actions may seem small individually, but together they shape a disciplined mindset. The key is repetition. Discipline grows stronger every time you follow through on your commitments. Daily commitment also reduces internal conflict. When your actions align with your intentions, there is less mental tension. You do not constantly negotiate with yourself about what should be done. This alignment creates clarity and peace. You feel more in control of your direction because your behavior matches your goals. One of the most important aspects of daily commitment is identity formation. You are not just performing actions. You are shaping who you believe you are. If you consistently act with discipline, you begin to see yourself as a disciplined person. If you consistently pursue growth, you begin to see yourself as someone who is improving. Identity becomes the foundation for future behavior. There will be days when motivation is low. This is where commitment becomes essential. Daily commitment means showing up even when energy is not high. It means continuing even when progress feels slow. These moments are where real transformation happens. The ability to act without emotional dependence is what separates temporary effort from lasting change. Strength, wisdom, and discipline are interconnected. Strength allows you to continue when things are difficult. Wisdom helps you make better decisions about what to focus on. Discipline ensures that you stay consistent in your actions. Daily commitment strengthens all three simultaneously. Each day becomes a training ground for improvement. Another important element is simplicity. Daily commitment does not require complex systems. It requires clear, repeatable actions. Small, consistent steps are more powerful than large, irregular efforts. Simplicity makes consistency easier. When actions are simple, they are easier to repeat, and repetition is what builds mastery. Reflection also plays a key role in daily commitment. At the end of each day, reviewing what you did, what you learned, and where you can improve strengthens awareness. This reflection helps you adjust your actions and improve gradually. Without reflection, days pass without growth. With reflection, each day becomes meaningful. Daily commitment also builds confidence. Each time you follow through, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. This internal trust strengthens self-belief. Confidence is not built through thinking alone, but through repeated evidence of action. The more consistently you act, the stronger your confidence becomes. Another important benefit is momentum. When you commit daily, progress becomes continuous. You do not have to restart repeatedly. Each day builds on the previous one. This momentum creates a sense of progress that fuels further effort. Stopping breaks this flow, but consistency maintains it. Discipline also improves emotional control. When you commit daily to structured behavior, you become less reactive. You respond to situations with more stability. Instead of being driven by impulse, you act with intention. This emotional stability strengthens overall mental strength. Wisdom increases as you observe the results of your actions over time. Daily commitment allows you to see patterns more clearly. You notice what works and what does not. This awareness improves your judgment and helps you make better decisions in the future. Strength grows through resistance. Every day you face moments where choosing discipline feels difficult. These moments are opportunities to grow stronger. Each time you overcome resistance, your capacity increases. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes natural. Daily commitment also helps eliminate procrastination. When action becomes part of your daily identity, delay reduces. You stop waiting for the right moment and start acting within the present moment. This shift increases productivity and reduces stress. Another important aspect is accountability to yourself. Daily commitment means you hold yourself responsible for your actions. You do not rely on external pressure. Instead, you develop internal accountability. This internal structure is what sustains long-term growth. Over time, daily commitment transforms your entire mindset. You become more focused, more disciplined, and more aware. You begin to value consistency over short-term excitement. You understand that real progress is built slowly through repeated effort. There is also a sense of satisfaction that comes from keeping daily commitments. Even small wins create a sense of progress. This feeling reinforces positive behavior and encourages continuation. Success becomes a daily experience rather than a distant goal. Ultimately, committing daily to becoming stronger, wiser, and more disciplined is a way of shaping your future through present actions. Each day is an opportunity to improve. Each action is a step toward growth. Each commitment strengthens your identity. When you live with this mindset, transformation becomes natural. You are no longer waiting for change. You are actively creating it through consistent behavior. Strength, wisdom, and discipline are no longer goals. They become part of who you are through daily commitment and continuous effort.